Hey everybody, how is it going this evening? Hopefully everybody's having a good day or night wherever you are. Welcome to the stream tonight. Let me get this chat box off the window here. There we go. Because we've got the other one. Definitely don't need two. So, how's it going everybody? Welcome Rev, Ether, Zach. Welcome back. How's it going, Josh Brosh? Andy is lost at IKEA. How's it going? Welcome back.
Called as such, for it cannot be changed, nor can it be reversed.
Somebody talking about Moana. That's definitely different. Making grilled cheese while watching right on YouTube. GJ, I actually had a grilled cheese sandwich for lunch today. I haven't had a grilled cheese in probably 6 or 8 months or something crazy like that. I had one for lunch, so it's funny that you said that. How's it going, Adrian? Welcome. How did Mona become Moana? Interesting. So I spied during the chat that someone had asked a question regarding whether or not I thought that if Venti were to die, whether or not everybody, like all of the visions that he's given out, would stop being useful or stop having any impact after such an event. I don't think so. And here's why. Because I suspect that the visions are intended, as Venti tells us at the end of the first main story chapter, the visions are intended to they're intended to make the user into not just a wielder of that element, but also to make them into an allogene, which makes them a potential archon. Oh, okay. I think it just ran straight through me. Anyway, so it makes them a potential archon. So I think it would be rather, for starters, I think it would be rather inconvenient for the Celestial Overseers if every time one of their archons die, they now have to get an entirely new pool of allogenes created, right? Because that would defeat the purpose. Like, the other vision holders are all his potential replacements. So if all of their visions are now suddenly inactive or go innate, then it seems to me to be counterintuitive to what the Celestial Overseers are trying to achieve with their existence. Furthermore, if we look into it just a little bit deeper, you can think about what the Tsaritsa is doing, right? So she attacked, or had her Harbinger, La Signora, attack Venti to take his Gnosis. Now, we don't know exactly why, the Tsaritsa is collecting those Gnosis. But we kind of have this idea or concept that she's probably actually the one who's fighting for good, but may not be necessarily doing it under the best, in the best way. But she may have thought that this was the only way to get the job done. So if she thought that she could, or, if she was trying to actually protect everybody, and knew that killing Venti would deactivate all the allogenes and prevent the Celestial Overseers from replacing somebody that they could manipulate, then killing Venti would have been the better way to go, right? But she didn't do that. She just took his Gnosis for whatever reason that may be. So no, I don't think that all the Animo visions or any visions that Venti had a hand in the creation of, or all Mondstadt visions, would go innate as a result of that. No, I don't. You never liked Barbara. You got Mona before her, so I thought Barbara was a rip-off Mona. Barbara's a healer, C3. Very, very different. Teva, what do I think about Lumine and God Kiana, aka Herisher, H-O-E? I think that's I thought she was like the Herisher of the Void, was God Kiana. But I don't think that Lumine is that character though, no. If that was what the actual direct question was, I don't suspect that actually is what's going on there. At Tevada Story, isn't Moana from Disney? Yeah, Moana's a Disney movie. you know, say what you will about Disney movies, but Moana was pretty well put together from a writing standpoint. I know they're not necessarily for everybody or anything, but I thought it was a good movie. Plus, you know, all of the music was written by Lin-Manuel Miranda, and that guy's pretty much a genius. So there's that. Go Hamilton. I think there is an update that's coming up. I think I might have missed something there. This means Vision ultimately turns to Gnosis and fuses with Body. This is my first time in the stream, but I wanted to say I love your content and I'm excited for whatever Origins video I do next. Well, thank you. I appreciate it, Van Miro. I'm actually working on one right now. That I'm doing another Origin video. Like, that's the current project that I'm working on, and I'm hoping to have it out this week sometime if all goes well. And most of you probably should know, or at least a lot of people are probably aware of who that video is going to be focused on, because I actually was talking about it well before I started production of it, because I was doing polls to find out which oh, that did not stick. That was weird. To find out what character people would be more interested in seeing videos on. I you know, polled the community to find out who people would be more interested in, and so yeah, I pretty much went with those to determine who I should do first. Oh, yep, that one's gonna hit me. I thought I could get it before. I am a little rusty with this party, not gonna lie. Josh Brush, he's in current form because he took the form of... Oh, you're talking about Barbados. Yeah, he took the form of his friend Venti. So he wasn't actually that form, though. He was just a little wind spirit before that. I know, but I didn't when I first started the game. I was like, Mona's cooler. Yeah, I mean, well, she's definitely cooler for sure. She was the Archon of Love, self-sacrifice. It's the extremity of the stealing the Gnosis, and in case she failed to fight Overseer, the Archons won't be blamed since they didn't have a way to fight. Yeah, and that's definitely a possibility for things. We don't really know her true intent of everything, but it could be that her intent of taking the Gnosis is to alleviate the other Archons of the blame that may be associated with attacking Celestia outright. Definitely possible. Excuse you, Historia, my DPS barber hits 15k. No barber slander allowed here. I mean, I don't think she's... That's not slanderous to say that she's a healer. That's just factual. Definitely no slander intended, but she's intended to be a healer. Making her a DPS is, I don't know if like perversion is the right word, but it's definitely not what she was intended to do. Oh god, I went in a little too early with that one. Oh, I'm not getting enough. There we go. I'm a little out of practice with that. That was a much better hit. A little out of practice with this party. I've been using all my other ones a little bit too much. Like, just like using my Zhongli party for a while, it kind of put me out of swing with my Mona party, and now using Hu Tao and Keqing and all these other characters that I've been Hu Tao and Keqing, like, it's kind of put me out of the swing of things a little bit. I gotta readjust. Did you hear that MiHoYo is working on a sequel to Genshin that will be released by 2030? It will be Neuralink VR thing, basically. It will be like how the story of Sword Art... Yeah, I did hear that they were, like, trying to do some kind of, like, Sword Art Online type parallel situation, which is really interesting, really. Like, I mean, as a fan of SAO anyways, like, that's kind of hype in my eyes. Oh god, he's still got Pyro on him. Oh, he hit the mines, that's why. Well, fine, I'll just hit him like this. So, yeah, as a you know, somebody who greatly enjoyed SAO, or has enjoyed SAO up till now, yeah, I think that's pretty cool. When I heard about that, I was definitely excited, to say the least. So yeah, that was definitely cool. Is the Tsaritsa the Cryo Archon and not La Signora? Yeah, Tsaritsa's Cryo Archon. La Signora is just one of the Harbingers. So she's like one of her key lackeys, basically. Can you bless me with your luck because I don't have Hu Tao? D, the memstress. I bestow unto you all luck that is within my power to give you. Go forth and you know, pull yourself a Hu Tao immediately. Here, let's gather these guys up a little bit. There.
Let me scry.
Huh. Yeah, I definitely got to get back into the normal swing of using this party. I'm not using it enough. I need to go over... for anybody who's not aware, I have had this Mona built as a primary DPS for some time now. She's pretty well equipped. I do think I have some characters who are better equipped at this point. But that's kind of one of the main points of tonight's stream anyways, is to kind of discuss how I feel a mainline DPS Mona is faring against some other classes these days, or not classes, but I should say other characters these days. But I don't... Well, I'll get into it here shortly. I want to continue with the stream for now, but I'll segue back to this here shortly. Barbara, normal charged attacks have same multiplier as Mona, if you recall. Right, they do, or at least it's very similar. However... they have a significant difference in regard to both attack speed and like overall potential in terms of mobility. Also, Barbara lacks any ability to lure the enemies and thusly reduces the overall DPS that's generated as a result of that, because that's a second source that's on the ground creating damage on, you know, simultaneously with Mona. They are not directly comparative in terms of potential damage output. Oh, I'm so rusty. I shouldn't have done that so fast. Oh god, I totally blew that. That was not well implemented on my part. Ugh. All right. Well, fine.
Let me scry.
Like, I don't play this party for a little while, and then I just like totally waste my Stellaris bursts. That was super great. Mostly, I just use this party in the Spiral Abyss these days. Oh, nope, get out of that.
I swear by my sword.
Alright, well, we're good. That's the other great thing about this party is I have Jean in this party, so I don't really die very much with this one, which is nice. In how many days is the new update coming? I'm too lazy to check, so you can just go right to this window. 5 days, 17 hours, 43 minutes, at least on the east coast of the USA. Gene, if you know what I missed something there. Who else is hyped for the 1.4 update? Big Boss. I think everybody's probably pretty hyped up for the 1.4 update. I know I am. I'm pretty excited to see how Rosaria, you know, works out in the grander scheme of things, but I suspect she'll probably be a secondary DPS as her best role. But, you know, with all things, that's speculation for now. We don't really know for sure what the actual true purpose of the character will be at this time, or what her ideal role will be. But I do look forward to getting to pair her with my Hu Tao to see kind of how they pair off in terms of synergy. I think it'll work out well, but I'm really curious to see, because that's, you know, a really good opportunity possibly to create some consistent 2x reaction damage, which will be really nice for sure. Let's go ahead and hit these guys with this. And okay, so that one worked the way it was supposed to. 1, 2, 3. Blat. He turned his shield to me, which ate my Stellaris. That's annoying. Well, the other one got hit for 108k, so that's fine. And then I can just finish this guy off, even though he's Hydro, but I'll just let Mona finish him off, no big deal. So, Wine and Song may be a game changer for Mona. Barb can't use her, and I love Barb. Wine and Song. Oh, yeah, that's that new book that's coming, isn't it? Yeah. I don't know. So here's one of the things. Oh, Aether at Tevada Story. Rosaria is a better Chongyun. I think that there's definitely a possibility that could happen, but I mean, as far as like I think there's going to be definitely different synergistic opportunities for both characters. It's just going to be a matter of how you know, press your advantage with each one. And what kind of weapons and artifacts you have on them obviously will bear significant impact as well. And let's just throw this through these guys. Keep them on fire for a moment. Nope. He's gonna definitely get that shield. Ah! I tried to interrupt that. And I don't have a cryo character on this team right now, so he's gonna be a complete pain in the ass. Oh, and I got hit in the face. Cool. I totally blew this one. I need to get out of the way here. There we go. Well, he lost his shield, so good. He's toast now. And this one I'm still doing okay damage through the shield on, so that's fine. I wonder if I can just throw this guy into the pool a little further. It's been a little while since I've had Jean for any real use in the open world, so getting to throw some enemies off a cliff tonight is gonna feel a little old school. I love sad stories. Hope Genshin future lore can keep up to Honkai. I suspect that it will. They're building up some sad stuff for sure. No Child is a sub DPS. Child, yeah, he's a secondary DPS. He's not a primary. If he's not C6, he's not a primary DPS. His DPS dramatically floors when his E is not available unless you have him at C6 and can sacrifice his elemental burst to reset the cooldown of said E. So yeah, it really does depend on your investment level as to whether or not Child can be utilized properly as a primary DPS. In the absence of that, he doesn't really do a very good job as a primary. Come on, burn that back off. There we go. Let me just slide away from this guy. Huh. Keep, like, running all of my damage cycles kind of in weird orders here tonight. There we go, that was better. I'm losing that muscle memory from this character. I gotta work that back up. How do you think we'll get to Inazuma? Brent, I suspect the way we'll get to Inazuma will probably be, well, we're gonna have to take a boat, right? Because it's an island. And the most noteworthy boat or ship that we've seen thus far is Beidou's. So I really do think that that's how we're gonna get there. I think we're finally going to see Beidou enter the story, and then we'll get to Inazuma through her graces in some way or another. Kinda missed the Mona party. Seeing Mona swim is just wrong. Yeah, well, I mean, sometimes you got no choice. You just gotta dive in the water and pick up the items that are sitting on the bottom. Alright, that guy's gonna try to punch me in the face. Just go ahead and walk away from that. 2, 3, and finish him off. that was definitely much better. So I guess we can go ahead and get into the main topic of the stream now that we're about 30 minutes in, and I think most people have established their position here tonight. So power creep. I've seen a lot of mentions either on my Discord or on, Reddit or YouTube comments throughout the community, talking about power creep and how a lot of people think that power creep has, or some people think that power creep has started to undermine the kind of like the fidelity of the earlier characters from the game. So characters like Mona, characters like Kaching, like making them effectively less useful than they were compared to release. But honestly, wow, I think I wasn't paying attention there, or he just got floored. I'm not exactly sure. Anyways, so I don't think that is the case. I really don't think power creep has had any kind of significant impact in terms of character direct thus far. The one thing that I will point out that has been impactful in terms of making characters seem as if they're more powerful is the presence of some very specific weapons. So characters like Kaching were good before the Jade Cutter came out, but now with the Jade Cutter, she's very good, and she's one of those original cast characters. Hu Tao with the Staff of Homa is very, very good. Without the Staff of Homa, say you're using like Primordial Jade Spear or something like that, she's a little bit closer to average. And, you know, high risk, high reward, she's a berserker anyways. So if she didn't have great damage output, then it wouldn't be worth the risk of keeping her at low health at all times in order to extract maximum benefit. So she's kind of alleviated from the concept of being, you know, power crept, just because you're constantly on edge of dying with that character. So other new characters to consider. Okay, so we have Ganyu. This is a character who has a compelling argument towards the possibility of, you know, possibly being somewhat broken. But again, say for instance you're throwing 4-star weapons on her. It's much more difficult to achieve some of these one-shot kills that people are setting up with Ganyu with those weapons. Even the Battle Pass weapons struggle to produce what Skyward Harp or the Amos Bow are capable of producing. It's not the characters that are resulting in power creep. It's the weapons. And with that said, there is currently not a primary 5-star crit damage catalyst in the game yet. And I think when we actually finally see that, because right now we have Lost Spirit of the Sacred Winds, that's crit rate. When we have a crit damage, you know, stand-in for that, you know, I was hoping I would get through that, and I didn't. But when we have a crit damage variant, finally, we're going to see some of these mainline catalyst characters come into prominence, and it's going to be a lot more impactful than they were previously. And I can show the stats that I have on my Mona here momentarily. And, you know, so throughout, you know, just this 30 minutes since I got the stream started, I've put up a few, you know, 108, 110k Stellaris hits, several 40, 45k charged attack hits through Vaporize. That's the concept of this party. And 45k is about standard to what people produce with Ganyu. Now, you might be able to make the argument that, yeah, okay, Ganyu can do that without a reaction. And that's true. But you do have a charge time associated with that, as well as an aiming requirement. Whereas with, you know, that same time investment minus the aiming, you can just throw a wide area of Klee bombs and follow it up with a charge and get that same damage. So it kind of evens out when you consider the time requirement in order to extract that damage. Now, of course, Ganyu can't apply that damage from significant range, and that does bear weight. But again, this character is a sniper. She's really the first sniper that they've released, because the other bow characters really don't rely on their charge shots. Fischl mostly relies on physical, straight up physical damage, and, you know, in conjunction with Oz on the field at the same time to make her deal fairly oppressive damage. That character is surprisingly good if you build her right. Amber, most people just use her to light torches, kind of a unfortunate reality for that character. I don't even think she's bad. I think with good constellation levels, the character is actually downright usable, but most people don't have very good constellation opportunities for Amber. Dion is a healer. Most people don't try to use that character as a damage dealer. It's just like, you know, kind of using Barbara as a damage dealer. Probably not the greatest idea when there are other characters who can do that role better if you have access to them. If you don't and you need a hydro damage dealer, then, you know, you do what you must. So yeah, I strongly feel that power creep hasn't existed in the game thus far. The weapons is definitely the aspect of power creep that has displayed itself in the game so far, and that's not really a problem when you think about things in the long run. Having power creep introduced on the weapons is the right way to approach this, because in time, you know, they're going to have to you know, increase the difficulty of content as the game continues to grow. You know, so too will the difficulty of the enemies that we fight, and one of the ways that they can prevent invalidating the artifact sets that we're building now and utilizing now is to increase the... Wow, I had to climb that wall instead of actually running away. That got my Klee killed. But yeah, so having the weapons change a little bit will allow us to have, you know, sizable upgrades to these characters without having to completely rebuild the characters from scratch. You might just be able to drop a new weapon on this character and all of a sudden it's competitive in that content again. So keep that in mind as, you know, the game continues to progress. When you see a good weapon, consider the stats that you already have on a given character now and see if it's intended to bring out better DPS from the characters you're already utilizing. YouTube GJ, thank you. I think power creep through weapons is the way to go. That way characters has the chance to be OP. One thing to consider is almost every time a new character comes out, there's a weapon custom made. Oh my god, I am just like... I was looking away and got my Mona killed while reading that. Yeah, I definitely completely agree. I think we're pretty much in alignment there. They pretty much have to introduce it through the weapons. They have to introduce some form of weapon scaling, right? Like, if they don't introduce some form of weapon scaling, then, you know, the characters and all the damage that we're doing, like, will be woefully inadequate for... Wow, this guy is just stuck in the ground and hitting me through the floor. I kind of wish he would stop doing that. Now I gotta go resurrect my Mona. Stab it. This guy, stop hitting me through the floor. One of these days I'm going to actually complete my build on both my Klee and my Deluxe so that they can actually do real work. But yeah, so that's generally how I feel at this time. Power creep isn't really an issue. It's not. The characters are all good. Even the 4-star characters in this game are good, if you have the weapons and artifacts to prop them up. And they're even better if you build the right teams around them. And that's the trick, right? We have to, you know, try to surround your given DPS with characters who will help them shine. This is pretty much a concept that I talk about regularly. If you're not building your team around your primary DPS, then you're probably underselling your DPS to some degree. And that's something you always need to be mindful of in this game, is that will dramatically change the output of your character. You know, if you're using a primary DPS Hydro character, you probably want to be looking at Pyro Resonance. You want to be looking at having secondary and support characters who are Pyro so that you can get the 2x damage. If you're using a Pyro character, you probably want... you may still want to explore Pyro Resonance. You know, you only have to pick up one more character in order to achieve it, but you definitely want to have a Cryo character who is capable of giving you at least, you know, occasional opportunities for melt reactions, again, for that 2x damage producer. This is how you bring out the best damage opportunities. So, you know, people have been saying things like, oh, well, Hu Tao is a clear example of power creep and she's way too broken, but no, again, this is a character whose damage is an outlier because she's a berserker. It's high risk, high reward. You know, I can tell you from experience, the character will die if you're not, like, literally bouncing back and forth between the enemy and your HP bar, the enemy and your HP bar. If you've played a lot of Zhongli, it's going to give you a lot of bad habits with regard to how to properly manage that character's health pool, and it's something that I still struggle with a little bit. Berserker playstyles have never really been something that I had much affinity for, but I actually really do find that character to be quite a lot of fun. And so it's one of those things you just have to keep working with. But like I said, it's high risk, high reward. You have to understand that that character will live at low HP all the time. And so that is why you're going to get really high damage returns. It was just the way they balanced that character, because she's going to be living on the edge always. Let me step back into the chat here in a moment, but I did say I would go over what I'm doing with my Mona. So currently, my Mona is utilizing a Skyward Atlas. It's Refinement 2. It is maxed out at 90, as is Mona herself. Her talents, I have her normal attack at level 10, Stellaris is currently at 9. I have had terrible luck with Ondarius trying to get more of these, and there's no point in me farming this other stuff until I have these, so I just haven't been able to get that level 10 on that yet. And as for her E, I'm not as concerned about that, so I've kind of left it at 6 for a while now. As for artifacts, she's currently using the 4-piece Hydro set. There's a few different ways to build Mona based on how you want to use her, but as I mentioned, I'm using her as a DPS. That means damage per second. Anybody who's watched any of my build videos, either directly for Mona or my build video series, you'll know that when I say DPS, that's what I mean. I mean a character who produces damage consistently, not somebody who is building up burst damage. So if you were to use 2-piece Hydro and 2-piece Gladiator, that is how you end up with a burst damage dealer, or 2-piece Hydro, 2-piece Noblesse Oblige, burst dealer, 2-piece Gladiator and 2-piece Noblesse Oblige, burst dealer. That is how you get a damage dealer, not a DPS. Whereas if you want her normal attacks to have some punch behind them, you want to use a 4-piece Hydro set. Because then as soon as you throw her E, all of her attacks get 30% more powerful. Now, there's some other ways you could achieve that. Say, for instance, if you had Mona as your 3rd slot for a secondary DPS in a party with, say, Zhongli and Xinyan and Albedo, then you could build Mona with Bolide, so long as you can continuously provide shields for her from your other characters. The shield generated either by the Geo characters or by Xinyan or Zhongli will still trigger the Bolide and give her 40% additional attack. So these are some of those situations that you can actually build up for yourself based on the characters that you surround her with. So that would be one way to actually get even slightly better damage than this, but this character isn't built in a shield team, so I could not do that here. But that's not really a problem either. And you can really do that with any character. You could do that with Hu Tao if you wanted to, and I certainly think that a shield party built around Hu Tao is a compelling argument to make, especially based on the fact that, again, she's a berserker playstyle, and if you're taking additional damage, when she's already sitting at 35% or less health, certainly under 50 in order to get your maximum benefit, you're gonna run into trouble fast. Although I find on a personal level the biggest trouble that I run into with Hu Tao is just standing in grass that I set on fire while I'm fighting enemies. The amount of damage that does is pretty ridiculous. So, if you're fighting in any one spot for too long, you end up getting, like a lot of burn damage against yourself, which is not great. Anyways, so as far as the stats on my Mona, she's got 2432 attack in a Pyro Resonance party. She's sitting on 46.2% crit rate and 144% crit damage. At this point, compared to some of my other characters, say, for instance, Hu Tao or Keqing, I feel like these stats are a little bit lackluster, and I can definitely get better stats if I had Lost Spread of the Sacred Winds, for instance, although it will lower her attack overall by a reasonable amount, because that weapon has something like 70 less attack flat at level 90 than Skyward Atlas, and also loses 33% attack in the main stat because it is a crit rate item instead. But that crit rate will boost Mona to about 80% critical rate compared to what she's on now. So that would still be pretty ridiculous, producing a basically constant critical situation for her. But what I would prefer is to just leave my crit rate where it is right now, or slightly better if I can get some better artifacts for her, which is difficult to do at this point, and get a 5-star crit damage weapon, but there isn't one right now. And this kind of brings me back to the point that I was making, which is it's not the characters, it's the weapons that are resulting in the power creep. Right now, some of the current Catalyst users might seem a little less compelling to use as your primary DPS, just because these new spear characters, these new archers, have crit rate or crit damage weapons with really compelling side bonuses that result in really high damage output over a short period of time. And you could make the argument that the Woodsith is a great weapon to use for Mona. It has crit damage. No. See, here's the problem with the Woodsith. For one, it doesn't, as a 4-star weapon, its scaling is poor compared to any 5-star weapon. So Skyward Atlas will outdamage it any day of the week, all day long, because the amount of attack difference between these weapons will way more than offset. Way more. It's not even close. And then the other issue is with the Wood Sith is that you end up with kind of an uneven, unpredictable bonus set, because it's got one of 3 different bonuses on screen at all time, in effect, whenever they trigger every 30 seconds. So you never know which one you're going to get. And as a result, you then sit in this weird situation where you have unpredictable scaling. Now, if all you have available to you is 4-star weapons, then yeah, sure, Wood Sith all day. Like, take the good with the bad. Use the Wood Sith. I think I know it will definitely outperform Eye of Perception. I do think Royal Grimoire and Solar Pearl actually are likely both to outperform Wood Sith. However, just because of the additional stability and damage and attack that they both add. They both are very good at that. They're both weapons that I have used on Mona for extended periods of time and saw good results from. But if you don't have any of those weapons, these are, of course, a Battle Pass weapon and one that you buy with the what is it, the Starless stuff, or the Glitterless, I can't even remember. It's the shop currency. If you don't have access to that, then yeah, the Wood Sith is a good weapon, and you can use that, but it will not perform like Lost Bread or the Sacred Winds. It will not perform like Skyward Atlas. Like, I've done significant testing. I've even done some of that testing on stream and shared that numbers with everybody live. So, those people who have been here for that stuff, they know, like, I'm not just speculating here. These are numbers I crunched. These are numbers I proved. And like, if you have access to the 5-star weapons, you should be using them. The scaling is not comparable. MiHoYo did make sure that the 5-star weapons were compelling enough to use if you had them. Pigeon, thank you for joining the Seelies. Thank you very much. Welcome to the members. Make sure to, if you are on the Discord community, if you've already joined that over there, make sure to send me a direct message with a screenshot showing who you are on YouTube. Pigeon, obviously, so that I can add you to the TH members Discord channel. Anyways, so hopefully I was able to accurately explain my feelings on this. But yeah, if we get at some point in the future a proper 5-star crit damage catalyst, we're going to see a lot of the catalyst characters seeming absolutely crazy. You're gonna see these characters just dealing crazy damage. Everybody's gonna be like, why all of a sudden are the catalyst characters better than all of the other characters? Well, catalyst characters are already, like, by definition, at least the ones who are built for damage, are glass cannons. These are characters who are built to deal damage, either over time, but consistently, or big damage bursts instantaneously. And so, in keeping with that, these characters are kind of already rigged up to deal big damage. And then if they get these weapons that allow them to unlock crazier stats, you're going to be seeing them deal numbers that the other characters can't possibly own up to. And that's what I definitely think will happen, probably sooner rather than later. But obviously it's not going to be this coming one. We already pretty much know what they're doing with that now. But we will see those changes. We're characters like Mona will definitely have their time to shine when those weapons come out. But even still, Mona is still a very compelling DPS choice even now. There's not really anything wrong with using her for that. You can see even without triggering the extra 30%, I just put a 30k down on this enemy here with a proper 30% bonus. It usually exceeds 40 to 45k, and that's more than solid, and it's very reliable. You know, like there's lots of YouTube videos out there of like kind of weird impractical builds that you can put together that require you to do, you know, 10 seconds of self-buffing under kind of weird circumstances that can be hard to replicate. And, you know, you just know that like in order for them to make that video, they were, you know, failing and trying and failing to reproduce that repeatedly, and they finally got it, and they're like, here, you can do this too. And yeah, you can, but it might be a little bit impractical to try. And then if you can't replicate it regularly, then it's probably not a great thing to try to build your character around. Because you want to be able to, at the end of the day, put up those numbers every time you know, get up to bat. You don't want to, you know, misfire every time you get out there, because that's just going to result in frustration, and then you're going to go back to the drawing table looking to build a different DPS because the one you have seems inadequate to you all of a sudden. So those are definitely some of the pitfalls I would say to avoid with that, but we should be watching for a catalyst to drop with crit damage at some point in the future. YouTube GJ, thank you again. Came to TH for the lore, stayed because he's the most level-headed and logical Genshin YouTuber. I do appreciate that, and that's what my goal is. You know, I try not to allow emotion really to enter the scene when it comes to how I evaluate character performances, how I evaluate, you know, the story of the game. Like, I'm just as susceptible to hype as anybody, but I do feel like I try to approach most things in life through, you know, an analytical process, and as a result of that, I think it gives me kind of a unique standpoint sometimes to present to everybody, and that's definitely what I try to make sure rings true each and every week here. So thank you, YouTube. I do appreciate that. The only bad about Mona is that ascending her would need to listen to Oceanids. Yeah, I mean, Oceanid is definitely a little rough, for sure, for some people. But if you have Kuching or Ganyu, Oceanid is not exactly a problematic enemy to fight. That boss is kind of a joke when I take Ganyu or Kuching, or especially when I take both. It's just not even really challenging anymore. If you don't have those characters, there are definitely some other ways to work around it. Fischl's pretty good against Oceanid. Chongyun can be very useful against Oceanid. It's just a matter of, you know, lining yourself up with the right characters to go to bat against her. But you can definitely get it done. Obviously, you still need a lot of that stuff for Child as well. And that's speaking of which, he's a character I've been meaning to build since he first came out. And when his new banner comes up sometime soonish, I'm not planning to roll for him because I already have him, and I'm not really interested in getting constellations for him. But I will probably finally take an opportunity to build him here shortly, because I do think that he has an interesting and unique opportunity to be used in tandem with Hu Tao. Using him with Hu Tao, she is, like, you end up with, she's a great primary DPS, right? But she has just a very short gap in her attack range, where you lose your berserker status and you have to wait for the cooldown to end, and it's only like 3 seconds or something like that, but you're still stuck with that 3 seconds of kind of poultry DPS. So that's your perfect opportunity. These enemies are already, you know, afflicted with pyro. That's your opportunity to swap to Child, drop an elemental burst on them for a full 2x elemental burst. And then you can pop a Z and just, you know, deal ridiculous, crazy Child DPS, because that's what he does in his E. He's a lawnmower. And then swap back to Hu Tao when that's over and pull a 1.5, you know, vaporize reaction on the way back. And, you know, obviously, for most interactions, that fight's going to have been over a long time ago, but against bosses, you're going to see that come into prominence a little differently. So these are definitely some great considerations conceptually to take into account if you have both of those characters, or if you have Hu Tao now and you are considering whether or not you wanted to roll for Child. I think if you are trying to bring the best out of your Hu Tao, rolling for child will be a good idea. Unless, of course, you already have Mona and you're, you know, well invested into her. You know, arguably, Mona will, I think, in a lot of ways still be better because Stellaris is just crazy, for one. And Mona isn't dependent on her E skill to be useful. But, like I said, if you are, you know, focusing on Hu Tao anyways, like I said, all you need to do is fill that 3-second gap. So whether you're using Child's E or his Elemental Burst in order to fill that gap, it doesn't really matter. Rev, you don't know who you are? I don't know what that means. Detective26, hey Historia, would you be interested in a Mona Come and Get Me Hag plushie? Yeah, most definitely. I think that a plushie modeled after her lure would be amazing. Absolutely. Hu Tao plus Child is one of the most fun combos. I run it. It's super fun. Triforce Rich. Nice, yeah. I'm glad to hear that that one does pan out. And it's definitely something that I want to do. I've been sitting on... Let me just go to my inventory really quick. I have been sitting on probably what is the game's best 4-star weapon. And I've got 2 of them at Refinement 5. One's on my Fischl, who I almost never use anymore, and the other's on Child. And they're just like being underused. So I need to make that weapon useful because a Refinement 5 Refinement 5 on that weapon is absolutely ridiculous. And it will allow Child to produce just crazy, ridiculous damage because Rust is actually one of the better 4-star weapons out there because of this ridiculous bonus 80% damage. Yeah, okay, you could argue, oh, but it lowers your charge damage by 10%, but it doesn't really matter. The charge damage isn't why you're using Child anyways. Really, Ganyu's the only character that, you know, you could make the argument where that is probably a mistake to use. I have just chat in Cat's Tail After Hours a while ago. I think I missed something there. Reaper Reaps, noticed me, senpai. Noticed. How's it going, bud? I wish more bosses were a part of the Abyss. I don't know if I know what you mean by that, but I think we're gonna be. I think you mean like more of like the world bosses that we currently have? Abyss teams, or do you mean like if we had more bosses from like the hypostasis or Geovishaps and stuff like that in the Spiral Abyss? That could be cool. Yeah. Warpaint and Unicorns Abyss teams. Team 1, Hu Tao, not cracked yet. Zhongli, cracked. Albedo, so cracked. And either Bennett or Xingqia under Artifact. Team 2, Tartaglia, Diluc, Ganyu, and either Bennett or Jean. So Team 2, I would have to say probably Bennett if you don't need the heals, because then you're going to pick up your Pyro Resonance. But if you're feeling the need for heals, like you're taking too much damage and you can't survive without it, then Jean, for sure. I always base my Spiral Abyss teams based on whether or not on a given floor I will be likely to need heals. So that means attempt 1, I'll usually go with less heals and take Resonance as a priority. And if I can't clear it and it's too hard, then I'll swap and take a healer instead and give up my Resonance. If that makes sense, because the enemies, like, you don't need healing from the enemies if the enemies aren't damaging you because they're all dead. So, you know, if you can just win the thing quickly because you're dodgy and dealing tons of damage, then it's not really a big deal. Or just more fun boss challenges like the Cube event. Yeah, that was actually... the Hypostatic Symphony was a really interesting event. I did enjoy it, for sure. But it wasn't a perfect event, right? There was some like little minor things about it that that were kind of inconvenient, like having to reselect. Like if you lost or wanted to restart, you had to reselect all of the debuffs that you were going to fight with again, which I found to be a little cumbersome. If it hadn't been for that, honestly, I think I would probably still call that, even still probably, I would more than likely call that my favorite event in the game so far. because it was a really interesting event. It was definitely the most challenging event that we've had in the game so far, because a lot of the other ones haven't really presented a great deal of challenge since the game released. That's not really what their goal has been with the events. They've mostly just been, you know, give us some free stuff as long as we're willing to put the time in, kind of stuff. Because even Theater Mechanicus wasn't all that challenging once you had the right items. If you have, you know, any intuition for how to build a defensive setup, that event really wasn't all that difficult. I mean, the biggest problem with, I don't want to say problem, but the biggest difficulty in Theater Mechanicus was just, you know, getting through the hardest difficulty because of how long it was, not because of how difficult it was, really. Because I only did the maximum difficulty in Theater Mechanicus, I think, twice. And even on the very first run, we only lost, I think, 2 enemies. I did do that on the stream. And we only lost 2 enemies in that, and that was because they kind of, you know, surprised us with how fast they were able to run through us early on. And then once we kind of adjusted for that, nothing got through again. I swear Witch and VV domain are rigged. I don't know. I feel like, honestly, like the Witch and Venerer domains, I kind of feel like are the easy ones. If you don't have, you know, Zhongli and Albedo, the Hydro one can be really, really difficult. Or Hydro Cryo one can be really difficult. If you do, then it's not really a problem. I'll tell you the one that I think is probably still the most annoying, but, you know, if you know how to kind of manipulate it, the Noblesse Oblige one. That one is just terribly annoying and is weirdly inconsistent at times. But as long as you just, you know, beeline to the right immediately, then you can mostly mitigate, you know, the problems that arise with the, you know, fighting 2 of those things at the same time, and it's not really that big a deal. At Tavon Astoria, what are you most excited about for the next update? The story elements that are going to be coming with it, for sure. Like, there's not a doubt in my mind that it's the story stuff. You know, the trailer that they gave us with regard to the Abyss Herald, Aether, you know, spotting Lumine in the fray, that was really, really interesting. I'm really looking forward to seeing where they're going to go with all of that and how they kind of string us along with that whole revelation. Should be really interesting. And obviously I'm looking forward to Rosaria because I'm always excited for new characters and to see how they perform and how they, you know, kind of change the way we play the game. Even 4-star characters are very capable of doing that. I would say so far probably one of the 4-star characters, or the 4-star character in my eyes, who has had the biggest impact on the way I play the game at times would be Xinyan, because her shield is really effective for triggering Bolide. And if you're making a Bolide team, that character is going to be at the heart of everything. Oh, Major Domo, thank you. Wow. Your support is always appreciated, for sure. My chat hasn't quite scrolled up to what you said yet. I'm sure it'll come up here in just a second. As soon as this stuff dies, I will scroll up to whatever it is that you said along with that. But I did get the notification at least, so hang on just 1 second for me and I will check on that. Where is it? There it is. Oh wow, it scrolled straight past. Howdy Tavot, how is your return to the classics feeling so far? Any tips for players with these characters? Okay. So my trip back to the classics so far has been enjoyable. I've always loved playing Hydro Mages. It's really one of the things that I have the most like personal resonance with. I love playing Hydro Mages. I've mentioned it quite a few times on stream. You know, one of my first online game experiences was Lineage 2. And in that game I played a Hydro Mage. And so I've always just, like, at a core level, really appreciated water-based casters and their high attack speed, high mobility play styles that are usually associated with them. So getting back into this party and you know, utilizing Momono again, just it feels like, you know, like hanging out with an old friend. You know, you're just like, yeah, this feels right, this is good. Like, all these other characters are, you know, nice and fun and kind of, you know, exciting to work with sometimes, but going back to the character that you know you just resonate with is always super compelling for me. So it's been great to, you know, kind of dive back into playing Mona tonight and kind of reworking my muscle memory to utilize my Vaporize combos. With regard to tips for these characters, you want to make sure you have a good definition for what you want each of those characters to do. So again, if you have Mona and you intend on using her as a primary DPS, you want to have her built around pyro characters, because you need that vaporize reaction in order to extract her best damage potential. If you're not doing that, you're just giving up damage, you're leaving it on the table. So if you have all of these characters and you have the opportunity to pair them up, you should. You definitely should, because that's how you're going to see the best damage. As far as building Diluc and Klee, it's pretty much a matter of understanding what the weaknesses of Mona are. Or, yeah, so if you, as long as you come at it from an, you know, like an analytical angle, it's pretty easy to understand that like Mona's not going to be able to kill any shields at all. She can put down a lure and allow you to position to the backside of them, which is still a, you know, a compelling option for sure. But if you don't want to have to do that, then you need characters who can work around that. Well, one of the greatest things about Klee as a character is she is one of only 2 characters in the game right now, well, maybe 3, but one of them can't do it as effectively, who can destroy all shield types, right? Diluc and Klee can both kill all shield types, because you need Pyro to kill Dendro shields, you need Pyro to kill Cryo shields, and you need either bombs or greatswords to kill Geo shields, or Geo as an element. So those 2 characters can kill all of them. You can make the argument that Jinyan can do it as well, but Jinyan does not put out as consistent pyro damage as certain other characters, so I would say she's a little less reliable in regard to that. I'm gonna wait a second to go up the hill because I need to charge up Venti's elemental burst before I go up there, and it'll just make that whole fight a lot easier. But yeah, so you want to make sure that you set these characters up to fill in the blanks for Mona. And those blanks, like I said, are generally shields, and are also characters where Hydro is just not ideal to fight with. That would be, you know, if you're fighting cryo enemies in general, Mona's going to be kind of a weak choice. She's going to do lackluster damage against those specific enemies, so you'll need to make a swap to a pyro character, and hey, you're going to get best damage from Mona because you brought those characters, but at the same time, those characters will directly counter off Mona's weaknesses. So going with pyro characters and pyro resonance is always going to get you the best bang for your buck with Mona. So always lean that way with this character. If you want to build her as a primary DPS, that's how you're going to get best damage from her. And really, the same could be argued to do that with even if you were building Mona as a damage dealer. So you're going to be leaning on her Stellaris really heavily for that. Well, if you're going to do that, you still want that Stellaris to be based on Vaporize, because you're going to turn, a 50-60k critical Stellaris into a 120k Stellaris. That's how you're going to maximize damage there. So just pretty much you want to have Klee set up to work as your secondary DPS if you are using the same characters that I do. In this particular formation, you want Klee to be set up as a secondary DPS, so that, whenever Mona's not ideal, you pop to Klee, and you still have a Catalyst character who is consistently producing pyro damage at all times, and will counter off that specific instance that you need that Mona's weak against. And then you can build Diluc as a damage dealer, making sure that his elemental bursts and his E's hit really hard. And that's because with Diluc, he can fire off his main elemental ability 3 times in quick succession, making him pretty much the only pyro character who can effectively trigger the 4-piece Crimson Witch of Flames set. The other characters have a lot of trouble triggering that at max. They'll get kind of lesser extent on it, and it's just really not ideal for them, whereas Diluc can do it at will constantly. So it allows him to work as a DD in your party, dealing large burst damage opportunities frequently. Tale story, have I seen the new Venti trailer that dropped today? Actually, that's not technically a new trailer that dropped today. It's actually, they just finally English translated the Venti trailer that they dropped when Venti actually released, way back near release. But yeah, I did see it, and I'm really glad they finally English translated it, because I was kind of frustrated way back when that they didn't English translate it. I kind of thought that was a little bit of a, unfortunate thing that they weirdly chose that one trailer not to translate. Do you think MiHoYo will add more languages to Genshin eventually? I feel like 4 is quite a small amount. It's kind of hard to say whether or not they'll add more languages, but if the success of Genshin Impact is anything to guide it, that speculation on, I would have to say yes. Just because they're definitely making more money with this game than they thought they were going to. The game ended up being, a huge success, on a scale that, they definitely could not have foreseen. And as a result of that, they have to have more capital to work with in terms of, development overhead than they ever could have dreamed. So the possibility of expanding the game into languages that were probably not initially considered seems suddenly a lot more likely to me. So can I say with any degree of certainty? No. But I do think it's likely, yes. Who would I say is the best Hydro 4-star? I mean, we only have one Hydro 4-star character. So, Barbara? I think. Sucrose evades me on my NA account, but when I do free 10x roll for my EU account, I get Sucrose. I am angry. Well, that's unfortunate. There's nothing worse than like constantly hitting the character that you don't want on the account you don't want it on, and missing it constantly on the one you do. That is terrible. Widsith or Favonius Codex for Mona? Widsith. Favonius Codex is a support weapon, so it's not really going to be an ideal weapon for building her out. At Teveta Story, what's the best way to build Venti? I'm planning on using him with Xiao because apparently they're a good combo. Interesting. So yeah, if you have them together, you're gonna obviously pick up an Animo Resonance, which is, well, the one thing I would say about Animo Resonance is it's addictive. So when the game first came out, my main party for a while was Beto, Mona, Venti, and Jean. So I had Animo Resonance probably for like the first month or so of the game, and breaking myself of that extra run speed was the biggest thing that was kind of upsetting. Like, it took me a little while to adjust to being so slow afterwards, because you feel really slow when you go from an Animo Resonance team to a any other Resonance all of a sudden. So that's the first thing I think that would stand out as an immediate warning for building any kind of Animo Resonance team, is other teams will feel slow afterwards. As far as building Venti at that point, I would say it would kind of depend on the characters that you're sharing that team with. So if I assume Xiao would be built as a damage dealer or as a primary in that scenario, although I think damage dealer slash basically two-piece Venerer, two-piece Gladiator for Xiao is probably the ideal combination for maximizing his damage. So you could, depending on the characters that you pair them with, you could go four-piece Venerer for Venti and allow your other two characters to deal additional damage. Because, anything that's inside of Venti's swirl will be boosted by four-piece Venerer. But you could also, make Venti into a tandem DPS or damage dealer alongside Xiao, so that they're both just dealing crazy, crippling damage at all times. So again, in that case, it would be both of them built as 2x Gladiator, 2x Venerer to kind of maximize your damage opportunities there. Let's see if I can get up the hill here before these guys teleport away.
into destiny.
And that didn't really work the way I wanted it to. Okay, now they're getting sucked into it, finally. There we go, that was a little bit better.
Written in the stars.
Oh, I fell off the hill. Yeah, they still ended up in it anyways. Well, I guess I'll just go up here and hit him with this. Oh, that didn't quite tag him for the damage I wanted to, but it one-shot him anyways, so who cares. Alright, so I swapped to Venti just to go ahead and put those guys down. I need to go back to Jean so I can get some decent heals on this. Because, ow, that was
Ready for anything.
a little bit rough letting my Mona get that low on health even before I engaged this fight. So that was a little risky. Haneen, welcome. How's it going? Welcome back. Bennett and Xingqiu share the same voice actor, though. Yeah, that's true. They do. Tevat, who should I put on my Xiao Qiqi Ganyu team? I'm waiting for our Albedo rerun, since his support is definitely going to be good, but whom should be a placeholder? Okay, let's see. So I'm assuming in that situation, obviously Ganyu is a DD because that's the role that she fills, and if you're building her for anything else, it is probably just a mistake. I'm guessing Xiao is your primary DPS in that sense, and Qiqi obviously your healer. Your cryo resonance, so you're going to be seeing consistent crit rate through enemies who are cryo affected or frozen. So to me, that would suggest a character like Child or Mona if you have them on hand. Child will not give you as consistent hydro for frozen reactions to maximize that critical opportunity that you have. But Mona, if you throw down her lures, will give you consistent frozen opportunities. So I would have to say, or Xingqiu would also be a really good option to produce consistent frozen reactions as well. Oh, which also brings me to the other, who is the favorite 4-star hydros. I always forget about Xingqiu for some reason. Definitely Xingqiu. Yeah, he was like, in terms of damage production, if you're looking at 4-star damage production, Xingqiu is actually a really good damage dealer. So yeah, I haven't built him just because I don't have a necessity to yet, but I will in time. It definitely will happen. But yeah, anyways, Andy, any of the Hydro DPS characters, Mona, Child, Xingqiu, any of those 3 characters I think will be good options for you in the meantime while you're waiting to get Albedo. At Tevat Astoria, did you try the Dragon Strike technique? You talking about double wind resonance reminded me of it. The Dragon Strike technique? You know, no, I'm not familiar with that. I think I'll have to either look that up or have you guys enlighten me as to what that is, because I'm not sure. I think I may have missed something.
Fate is called as such, for it
Chat,
cannot be changed.
hey
Nor
TH,
can it be
you
reversed.
forgot to welcome Luna.
Only
Oh.
be accepted.
How's it going, Luna? Welcome. I didn't notice you there, but welcome. No Sag Luna noises. That's not allowed at this time. You can you must definitely do away with the sad noises at this time. I have noticed you. Alright, so let me go down here and take care of these 4 Ruin Guardians before I forget about those. Oh, come on, I totally slid underneath that one. I've been running really short on crystal flies lately, and it's killing me. It was a mistake to make Ganyu DPS. So, again, the concept of DPS means damage per second. That means you are dealing consistent damage as opposed to burst damage. So, if you're building Ganyu as a DPS, that means you're utilizing her for her left click, like literally for her basic attacks, as opposed to maximizing the damage that she can do through her charge shots, which is like undeniably the best way to utilize that specific character. So you definitely want to make sure you go to bat with Ganyu with either the 4-piece cryo set or 2-piece gladiator, 2-piece cryo. In fact, that's what I'm actually, like right now mine's 4-piece cryo, but I actually have every intent of swapping her to 2-piece gladiator, 2-piece cryo at some point in the near-ish future. And whenever Kamisato Ayaka comes out, I'll probably, if I haven't already done it, I will definitely be doing it at that time. Because I'll probably take 2 of those cryo pieces from Ganyu to give to her, so that I can, justify building Ganyu with those 2 gladiator pieces. So it'll make that transition for me a lot easier, because I've already got 4 good cryo pieces that are level 20, and I'll only have to work half as hard to you know, build Kamisato Ayaka at that time. Rev plain ignoring me now. Unsubscribe. I literally just said hi. I don't know what you want from me. What? Tell me what you want, Rev. Tell me what you want. Lunacy, but meh is the thought that count. Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. Sometimes it's easy for me to, you know, overlook names and stuff. So, yeah. I'm glad you're here though. All right, let me swap to Ganyu for this because not having an archer in this particular interaction is nothing but pain, and I don't want to deal with that. J Phantom at Tevada Story. I have a theory, and my theory is that Raiden lost her gnosis already, which is why she's collecting vision to stop someone else from becoming an Archon and replacing her. That's pretty much what I think is going on there too. Or either that, or she's aware of what the Tsaritsa is doing and agrees with it to such an extent that she doesn't want somebody else to be eligible to replace her, if that is indeed even a possibility with the Tsaritsa having the gnosis. So there's definitely some questions that will over time need answers for with regard to how gnosis removal works in the grander scheme of things for, you know, allowing the characters to maintain their role as Archon and whether or not they are still holding that specific gnosis. Nope. That was close. Well, that one's already dead. Now I can just let the other ones bottleneck in here and then just shred them with a Mona Burst or something like that. Nope, no charge shots for you. Well, these guys are pretty much almost gone already. Let's see if I can just freeze them and make this easy for myself. Oh no. Oh no. Okay, well, then we're good then. Just for a second I thought I was in trouble there, but I'll just throw this through them and then I'll probably about do them all in. Yeah. That, not much of a problem there. Yeah, having Ganyu in this particular fight simplifies everything for sure. But my Mona team always kind of struggled in World Level 8 with this specific instance, just because if you want to shut down this group, you need an archer, and, you know, if you're going to bring an archer, why not bring Ganyu to do it? TH and Rev doing weird chat stuff. I mean, what else is new? If he's not, you know, jumping off cliffs on my stream, then he's giving me a hard time about giving him a hard time about him jumping off cliffs in my stream. So, you know, it's just a never-ending battle. Dude, are you serious? Two-piece Glad is so overrated. You're giving up free 40% crit rate just from your artifacts. With another cryo, you get another 15%. You can build crit damage on Ganyu. Dude, yeah, I mean, that's pretty much what I'm doing. And right now my Ganyu does have 4-piece cryo set. However, you're only getting that with consistent application. So you have to consider the fact that you're going to stabilize that production. So the 4-piece set is only going to give you that maximum bonus if they're also frozen on top. And that's the other problem there. So it's when a character attacks an opponent affected by cryo, their crit rate is increased by 20%. Great. Cool. Awesome. If the opponent is frozen, it's increased by an additional 20%. So yeah, you're going to see big damage numbers from this, or more frequently, because you have stabilized crit rate. But you can stabilize your crit rate in other ways. For crying out loud, I mean, like, look at my Keqing. She has 75.2% crit rate. Hu Tao has 67.6% crit rate. Sure, right now, my artifacts for my Ganyu are a little suboptimal in terms of dealing or giving her stable crit rate. And that's why she has the 4-piece set right now. Because the 4-piece set, when I have her in a team with a Hydro character, allows me to stabilize her crit rate at a, 64.4% with 182% crit damage. That's why she's built with the 4-piece cryo set right now. But in order for me to change her to 2 and 2, I have to have more stable crit rate. I'm not going to change it until I can do that. So I'm not just throwing these things out there because I think that, you know, because I haven't put thought into these things. Like, you know, I'm only going to make these changes when I can actually prove that I can produce more stable damage. And of course, an additional 18% attack will produce more stable damage output if I do not require cryo 4-piece damage, or the 4-piece bonus set, to give me stable crit numbers. If I have stable crit numbers, I don't need it anymore. So having additional damage removes, you know, like, allows me to sidestep the crutch, right? Because if I can have 50, 60, 70% crit rate like characters like Hu Tao and Keqing do now, then that crutch is no longer necessary. And I can just use Gladiator to give me better damage application. But again, you can't do that unless you have the right weapons and good artifacts. You have to have both. You can't have just one or the other. You have to have both. At Tevot, do you think the Black-Red hypostasis the unknown god unleashes when twins met her would be a future boss? I don't know that I've ever considered that to be a hypostasis. Interesting. Maybe. Yeah, I mean, if it is indeed a hypostasis and not just, you know, a physical manifestation of her magic that is non-sentient, then, you know, yeah, we could see it. And that would be really cool, actually. I'd be really interested in seeing that for sure. At Tevot Astoria, do you think Keqing's damage dealing is underwhelming? Why or why not? Oh no, I think she's very good. Here, I will say why I think she's so good, or I'll just you know, actions speak louder than words, right? So I will just, I've got some resin to burn, and I wanted to farm this boss a couple of times anyway, so I'll just go over here and show you why. Major Domo, thank you. Dragon Strike Diluc utilizes lag to allow plunges on flat ground. You dash as you AA, then jump into the dash against the enemy and plunge. Oh, okay, so you're utilizing lag too. Okay, so that actually might be something that's really, really hard for me to replicate, because one, my computer is really good, and two, if you notice, my ping is 15 milliseconds, and sometimes it is as low as 8, depending on the latency on the given night, because I'm pretty sure I'm in the same state in the United States as the servers for this game, so anything lag-based is actually kind of hard for me to attempt. Not to mention, I think, I kind of feel, have always felt strongly on a personal level that utilizing lag-based damage techniques is kind of akin to exploitation. So it's one of those things that, like, I usually don't like to utilize things like that. But it does kind of seem, I think that kind of seems like, I've seen some videos of people who would like use Geo Traveler to like throw down his elemental rocks, kind of like a pair of bongos, and then just repeatedly like jump back and forth between the bongos, which looks completely ridiculous, but it results in just absolutely ridiculous damage output from it. So that's why I think Keqing is really good, by the way. You can one-piece these enemies each and every time. Oh, Domo, you didn't have to donate again to get to add that extra, but thank you, I appreciate it. Hit lag, ran out of tech space. Yeah, it's an interesting concept for sure. I don't know that it's necessary though. Like, I haven't tried to do it myself, but if it's anything like the bouncing back and forth with the two bongos, then yeah, I've seen it done. It does seem like it works, like interesting damage, like literally just Diluc jumping back and forth between them to get free plunges. And I could definitely see where it would make for a lot of damage, because I've definitely been in fights where like the ground was slightly uneven with characters like Xiao or Hu Tao or Zhongli especially, where I was able to repeat plunge and just get crazy damage really over a short period of time. It's not lag, it's hit lag. Oh, okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah, so I mean, it's still, yeah, I think it is like the bongos thing I saw then, and yeah, I mean, it was interesting, and to me, it kind of seems like it might be almost impractical. I'm sorry, can't talk right now. Almost impractical, though, because it would be hard to replicate that in all scenarios, right? Like, you have to have the two pillars set down in the right place in order to do it more regularly. and that can be a little bit cumbersome to me. So no, I haven't tried it, but I did see it and laughed at it when I saw a video about it. Can you help me build 2 good teams using all of my 5-star heroes, because I don't want to see them go to waste. I have built all 21 of my heroes. They're all level 60 along with their weapons. Wow. Oof. So see, that's one of those things where you almost hate to see it, because on paper it sounds like having all of your characters built out would be good, but then you end up in this situation where you've spread your resources a little too thin, and none of your characters are excelling like they should, because all of your characters have been kind of balance built, as opposed to actually focusing on building up the actual talents and levels of any specific character. So if you have pretty much every character in the game, it's a matter of selecting the character that you resonate with the most, or you think is the most fun, and then building a powerful team around it. So if you really like Mona, then a Pyro Resonance team to back her up and a supportive healer will be ideal. I would suggest Jean for that, because Catalyst characters need quick healing, otherwise they're easy kills. If you have Hu Tao and you really like her, then building her around a character like Zhongli for shields is also a really compelling idea, but also building her in tandem with, I shouldn't have engaged this yet. I meant to swap Mona into the team so I can pop his shield. But yeah, having the right characters alongside each of those characters will make your team way more effective than as if you were to just choose characters at random. But there's definitely an argument to be made to just putting together the team that's the most fun for you as well. So it kind of depends on what weapons you do have access to before you dive into what party you actually want to run. You have every 4-star hero along with Mona, Jean, Diluc, and Zhao. I need help because I'm so indecisive. Okay, well, if you have Mona, Jean, and Diluc, then you pretty much have my original classic party, which all you need to do is throw another Pyro character in there. And for some period of time, I was kind of doing that with Amber. So I had Klee and Amber. I didn't have Diluc at that time. And it was still very effective. At that point, Amber's in there just to solve puzzles for you and to shoot weak points and stuff, but also to trigger Pyro Resonance, which is never something to balk at for sure. It's definitely not an opportunity I would ever recommend overlooking. So yeah, you could definitely get great results with that, and you really won't have to think twice about it at all. Anyway, so to answer the question with, do I think Keqing can be a good damage dealer? Hopefully, me chopping down both of the Regisvines before they get up with little to no effort is indicative of enough of how I think Keqing performs with a proper build and a good weapon. Mona power creep? What? No. So the name of the video is not meant to make you think that Mona is power creeping. It's to say, is Mona still good today with all the other characters who have been introduced? And yeah, she is, because it's the weapons, not the characters, that are introducing power creep into the game. And the weapons are the intuitive and intelligent way for them to do that. Because as the game continues to get harder, we will need weapons that perform better than some of the older weapons in order to allow us to scale into that content. So yeah, power creep in the game doesn't technically exist. And characters like Mona, Keqing, Diluc, Klee, the original 4-star characters who are intended to be damage dealing or DPS characters, are still very effective today, so long as you have good weapon opportunities for them. I need to also run my artifact farm route, so let me get started with that tonight too, because I'm still working on building up the artifact sets for my Chi-Chi, because I don't have all of those artifacts built up for her yet. And that's making her a little bit suboptimal when I go to use her right now. Hold on one second. I am trying to set up my artifact map so I can see it during the stream here. Alright, that should work. Alright, there we go. Back to this. Your cousin hates you? Aw, Rev. Why ever would she hate you? See, it's Rev bully time. Lunacy, yes. Bully him more. You should just always bully him. Whether you're here or not, just always be bullying Rev. Just always. Or, yeah. I was gonna build a team with Razor and Diluc, but realized I had no good claymores, and I can't seem to get any prototypes to even use a free-to-play weapon. Wish it was easier to get them. Yeah, that's true. It is something that I've submitted relatively frequent feedback for, with regard to weapon availability issues, especially, you know, for free-to-play players, but even for, you know, those of us who are willing to put significant money into the game, we can still have trouble getting weapons that are consistent and reliable for us. So, like, for instance, you know, I've had to submit myself to the weapon banner on a number of occasions, and honestly, the more pain I experience with those specific weapon banners, the less inclined I am to continue rolling on them in the future. I really think they need to introduce the weapon banners with a single weapon on them and just release 2 separate weapon banners each time. So, you know, you're guaranteed, or, you know, you're 50-50 or whatever it is, just like the weapon banner, or just like the character limited banner that's up. So you can choose which one of the 2 weapons you want to roll for. And then, you know, you're 50-50 if they want to do it the same way as the character ones. Whether you'll or not, you'll get the weapon the first time, but you're guaranteed the second time. That, to me, they do it. They see the importance of doing that with the characters. I wish they would do it with the weapons as well. I hope, you know, it's something I have submitted in some of my feedback and surveys and other surveys. And so I'm hoping that, you know, in time they will hear that and make adjustments to it, because it's really one of the only, like, constant frustrations that I experience in this game, because really much of the rest of the game is actually generally unintrusive to me. But that I would like to see change. Luna, no. Rev, I mean, you can't start a revolution if you ain't got someone against you. Yeah, that's a good point. That's why I'll rename myself The Revolution. Okay, well, you're gonna have to do that. You know, I think it's time. Just go ahead and do it. Because right now, I mean, you're still Lolly Revolution, but you know, I thought you were doing that because I didn't have Chi-Chi, but now that I have Chi-Chi, that name no longer has meaning. It might be time to consider a name change. LOX, you missed some server lore? I think I missed something here too. Is my team official, Sucrose, Zhongli, and Jiangling? Good. So you have some interesting aspects there. You're gonna hit four-part resonance, so you're gonna get good, you know, resistance to elements as a whole. So, and you have Zhongli, so defensively the team should be pretty effective. You don't even really need a healer in a team with Zhongli, especially when he's set for healing. The only downside to it is that you have an Animo character paired with a Geo character, so there's no synergy there whatsoever, but it's not necessarily. So long as you're getting good returns between the interactions between Xiangling, Fischl, and Sucrose, then you're fine. You'll get good damage from those characters. I assume Fischl is your primary DPS, built as a physical damage dealer in that situation, with either Sucrose or Xiangling as your secondary. That should, in theory, work nicely. Let's see. Zhongli should be able to break any of your Geo shields. and Xiangling would break your other one. So you really shouldn't have a whole lot of interactions where you're going to get stuck outside of any enemies that require, say, maybe cryo to kill. But, you know, you can't always count on having a cryo enemy or a cryo character in your team at all times, because there's only 4 character slots and there's 7 elements, but 6 playable ones. So yeah, I think that team is plenty rounded, and that should have good resonance and synergy overall. It kind of depends on which character in there your primary DPS is, but I mean, Fischl is a great primary DPS who also provides secondary damage support for any other character on the screen. So she's really a hard character to go wrong with in a lot of ways. Rev, okay. I'll see you when you get back. Andy has lost at IKEA. I really enjoy reading through Chi-Chi's story, since now I'm friendship level 7 with her. Yeah, Chi-Chi's got a really interesting story. She's a character that I'm actually really looking forward to doing a character lore video on in the future. I haven't really kind of prepared myself for doing Leah characters just yet. I definitely need to have like an authentic pronunciation sit down with one of my Steambirds, Cheryl, over on Discord before I really dive deep into Leoa character videos, just because those are it's different than the streams, you know. Like, I definitely want to be able to say these character names absolutely perfectly every time, and it's going to take me a lot of practice to do that. But if I'm going to record a video that, you know, hundreds of thousands of people may see, then I definitely want to say the names right. I want to do justice to those names, and it's just one of those things where I just haven't mentally prepared myself for that yet, so I've been sticking with the Mondstadt ones because they're a lot safer in terms of not saying the names wrong and butchering them and then, you know, feeling like I jumped the gun. So that's one of the things that's kind of held me back from doing videos on Leoa characters for now. But at the same time, I've really been enjoying exploring the deeper aspects of lore for the Mondstadt roster of characters since the game released, because I really do like the Mondstadt characters. They're very diverse and they're very interesting. So honestly, I may not do any Leoa story character or character story origins until after I've completely finished the roster of Mondstadt characters. I'm not positive about that, but I am considering not doing any of them until that time, just because I feel like I can tell a complete story if I just stick to the Mondstadt ones for now, if that makes sense. But I definitely, with that said, I do really want to get into the Leoa story stuff there. Characters like Chi-Chi are really interesting. Zhongli, obviously, crazy interesting. Ganyu, even, really interesting character. Like, there's definitely some mysterious stuff going on with Ganyu. It's almost as if that character is just fading away. She's falling asleep in the middle of the day and all sorts of weird things like that. It's just, I don't know. I feel like we have some sadness destined for Ganyu. I don't think, like, that's a character that's going to be killed by somebody, but I could see that being a character that, like, fades away or something and has, you know, leaves or ascends or something at some point. I know it's like painful to say or think about, but I do kind of think that that's kind of maybe where they may be going with that character. We'll see. Alright, oh, those guys almost died. This one's very low. Don't throw dirt at me. Get out of here. Rev, I mean, you can't... So, okay, yeah. I think this thing scrolled up awkwardly for some reason. Hang on, my chat fell behind. Oh, wait. Are we shipping TH? What? No. That is... No. No. What, you don't? I'm confused. I don't know what's happening. Not until tonight eats pop. Isn't Mona meant to be a burst support? So Mona can be used as a primary DPS or a burst support. I personally have long since felt that using Mona as a as a burst support is underutilizing her skill kit, because if you are not utilizing her her elemental skill to trigger her into a large output character based on her attack speed, and utilizing her mobility, because her lure can also be used as a dodge, and the fact that her dodge is a little bit more it's a lot faster than other characters, even though you do need to like get into the habit of turning your body before you start it. It is faster than the other characters, so her mobility makes her an ideal primary DPS. So it's kind of a role that is I think very intuitive for her, that a lot of people don't necessarily consider, but they should, because it's really effective. And I think that the 45k, you know, crit damage that I have a tendency to put out with her is, you know, proof enough of that. Oh my god, this guy just popping me with that. Oh, I'm out of stamina. Oof. Oh, hey, cool, I'm frozen. Like my boy Bennett and Razor, so precious. Oh, Bennett and Razor. There we go. We could turn many characters DPS. I mean, yeah, so in certain regards, yeah, you can turn a lot of different characters into primary DPS if you wish. And, you know, like, I will always advocate that, you know, if there's a way you want to play a character, just do it if it makes the game fun for you. But there are some characters who are better at the DPS role than others. And Mona is one of those characters because of her attack speed and because of, you know, the items that are available to her in this game, who can be one of those really strong primary DPS characters, so long as you have access to all the things that you need to make her successful at it. Arena Aria, you're going now? Well, have a good night. Thanks for coming to the stream. Let's see if I can knock this guy off his setting here for a second. Oh, well, I did. So hopefully he'll come back up out of the ground so I can hit him with this. Oh, come on. What was that? Okay, well, at least he exploded when the Stellaris triggered itself. For some reason, I hit him twice and it didn't trigger. This Geo Bishop rollers are kind of frustrating. Yeah, you know, like, if you don't have, like, your Zhongli party or something like that, like, if I don't have that party out, those guys can get a little frustrating. Let's just throw this one in the ocean. Yeah. That's always weirdly satisfying whenever I'm on Gene and near water. You just... It's so hard to turn down the opportunity to just throw stuff in the ocean. Well, since you missed my question 2 times already, here is me looking like an idiot asking it as a 3rd time. I mean, sometimes it's just hard for me to catch everything. Should I work on my C0 Zhongli plus C6 Anemo Traveler as main team? Zhongli for burst, spam, and Traveler for energy, or improve my already built Razor and my C6 Xingqiu as support? So you're definitely going to be needing 2 parties. I mean, really, because of the way the Spiral Abyss works, there's no way around it. You do need to have 2 very strong, effective parties. So having a fully established, you know, complete party concept for 2 different setups is important. So, you know, if you haven't already gotten your Traveler and Zhongli party properly established, depending on what world level you currently are, you probably should start working on that sooner rather than later, because it will be necessary in order for you to start getting those Primo Gems every month. Because really, at the end of the day, if you're not doing the Spiral Abyss, you know, as far as you are capable of doing it, then you're just leaving Primo Gems on the table. And that's, you know, that's obviously not something that you should do if you can avoid it. Oh my god. Obviously, I wanted to throw that at the flies, totally. That's totally what I was trying to do. Here, you know what? I'm tired of chasing you. Come here. There we go. Freaking Sisson mages. They always teleport around. Have you read the lore for the KFC glider? No? I don't think so. Are Tartaglia and Diluc good together? Yes. So this is going to be another one of those situations where you can bounce back and forth between them. So you could, use Tartaglia as a secondary DPS and Diluc as your primary / damage dealer, because that's the role that Diluc kind of serves anyways. Mind you, his white damage will not be good if you're building him properly. And neither will Child's, really. He's not really going to be a character who's going to establish very strong white damage anyways, because Child really only deals effective damage when his E is up. However, using those two characters in tandem will allow you to have strong Vaporize combos, which is really important. Having another character in your team who is also Pyro is going to ignite Pyro Resonance, increase your attack across the board for all characters, and give you even more Vaporize opportunity for your Child. So again, if you have the opportunity to go for Vaporize, I would recommend it. I definitely would. Does MC travel alone canonically except Paimon, or does he have a canon party? It's kind of hard to guess who'd tag along with MC, considering that everyone seems too busy to tag along with him or her. I think canonically that they travel alone, with just Paimon at their side, and I think, whenever we meet up with other characters for specific quests, those are the instances where they're traveling with another character. But I would have to say, on the regular, the Traveler does, do what they do completely alone, for sure. Archaic 4-piece or Noblesse 4-piece, Zhongli 2-piece, Archaic 2-piece, Noblesse. So that's all going to depend on what you're doing with the character, right? Because if you're using him as a primary, Bolide is probably the best way to go for Zhongli. If you're using him as a burst dealer, then you're going to want to use 2-piece Archaic, 2-piece Noblesse. That's really the best way to go with that character. If you're using him as a buffer, then you can go with 4-piece Archaic, but it will lower his output. It'll increase other people's output, but I don't really like 4-piece Archaic very much on Zhongli on a personal level. No way, Larry. Honestly, I'd say having 2 parties and at least 2 alternates to swap to is ideal. Yeah, I mean, so that's definitely kind of the way I've set myself up. Like, I do have 2 primary parties, and then several alternate characters that I've been building to swap in for specific needs. So, obviously, the team I'm on right now is usually my party 1 in the Spiral Abyss, and my Zhongli team with Zhongli, Albedo, Xinyan, and Fischl was my team 2. But lately, I've been swapping in Keqing because she is effectively better than Fischl in almost every way, the way I have her built now. But I can also make swaps as necessary, utilizing characters like Ganyu. If I need her, I can still put Fischl in if I need. I can put Venti in if I need. So these are all characters, I have the opportunity to swap in if it becomes necessary. So yeah, having 2 full parties and alternate characters to counter off the weaknesses of the enemies, to counter into, rather, the weaknesses of the enemies that you are trying to defeat and are getting stuck on in the Spiral Abyss, will give you, overall a better experience in the Spiral Abyss. So, having anywhere from 8 to 10 characters who are well established is going to be your best bet for sure. The Crabman, I absolutely hate the Spiral Abyss. I mean, I think a lot of people feel that way about the Spiral Abyss, particularly free-to-play players, because it seems impossible in the free-to-play element until you're very, very well established, or unless you've been very lucky. However, there are some guides out there that pretty compellingly show that even free-to-play players can clear the Spiral Abyss through floor 12. If you pretty much follow the guides to the letter. But you do have to work really hard for it, and it definitely is more complicated than if you are, willing to put money into the game to get characters and weapons and stuff like that. So, you know, there's definitely some hassle there involved with that, and I certainly would never suggest whaling specifically to counter that specific thing, because that's obviously, you know, a slippery slope in the first place, and if you can't afford to do it, then you can't afford to do it. That's just the reality of things, and you shouldn't, because you should never allow these things to, you know, kind of consume your priorities, for sure. Mona's not busy, she needs a job. She has a job now. She writes for the Steambird in Fontaine. She has an astrology column where she pretty much gives people fortunes that they don't want. But, you know, you do what you gotta do, and that's kind of her deal. I don't know if, like, well, she doesn't technically give people fortunes through her column. It's astrology, so it's kind of more of a, well, you know, everybody knows how that works, but she doesn't technically use her actual astrology to make money because she feels like that's against her principles. So she uses her like knowledge of astrology to, you know, read the signs and give people horoscopes and stuff like that, as I understand it. Is Varka going to be a playable character? Joe Carpenter, I don't know, but I would tend to think so, right? Because kind of the way most gacha games work is they establish a set roster of characters throughout the many years, and most of the characters you end up meeting throughout the story of that game end up being playable characters at one point or another. They're just not ready to reveal to us who Varka is yet, and that's the reason why he hasn't come up. But I also suspect that hype plays a certain, you know, a certain amount into what characters that they're going to prepare for us to see, you know, at, you know, early junctures or late junctures in the game's development. So, like, for instance, people were really excited about Dainsleif, and, you know, all of a sudden he's starting to show up in story quests and stuff like that. They could, you know, maybe, just possibly, they always intended for him to show up this early, or based on, you know, his reception, based on, you know, what little we knew about him before the first quest where he appeared began, they were like, okay, well, maybe we need to bring these story threads to the surface a little sooner because people really seem interested in this character. Whereas people are interested in characters like Varka, but people are much more arguably much more interested in Dainsleif, or even Vanessa and Alice. These are other characters I think people are more interested in, and you see people talk about much more frequently, especially Alice. So we'll see. I suspect all of these characters will end up being playable characters at some point. And here's another thing, like for that instance, so we know Alice is Klee's mom, but who's Klee's father? Like, they only mention that she has a father because they say that her parents are adventurers, and her parents left her in the care of the Knights of Favonius, so it's pluralized, so she has two parents. So, like, where's her dad? Who's her dad? They've never one time mentioned the name of her father. Is he an elf like Klee? So, like, one would assume, based on the relationship that that Alice and Mona's master had, you know, spanning over the past 50 years, and the fact that Klee is very young, that Klee's mother would also be an elf who should have a, you know, the blessing of long life as well. So there's another one of those aspects there. Justin Williams, really love your content. I wanted your opinion on this. Who to build next? Xingqiu C6 or Noelle C6 or Albedo C0. I have built Jean, Mona, Fischl, Ganyu, Razor, Venti, and Diona. Albedo, for sure. I think the choice is relatively simple in that regard because Albedo is plain and simple the best support character in the game. Now he's obviously better at C2, but at C0 he's still quite effective if you build him and you really, you know, put some focus into him. There is no character in this game who can deal better off-screen damage and produce better off-screen damage output overall than Albedo. Definitely build Albedo. Lost Prayer of the Sacred Winds Is it viable for Mona? I'm guessing using her as a support for... I'm using her as a support for Gun. Yes. If it makes you feel any better, if I had Lost Spirit of the Sacred Winds, I would probably be using it on my Mona right now. Probably. I've never gotten one, so I have not been able to do any specific testing, but I suspect with my Mona probably still getting close to 2k attack in her current configuration, with that would still get close to 2k attack rather in her current configuration with that weapon, and she would have 80% crit rate with 145-ish% crit damage. Oh no, she would have closer to 100 and... Yeah, no, it would be, 145% crit damage. So yeah, I think it would still be more stable. The added stability of it would still result in higher damage production over time. So I do think that it would end up being better. Not to mention the added bonus of not having the Skyward Atlas bonus. Randomly popping your Stellaris bubbles when you don't want them to would definitely be nice. So yeah, you could definitely get good usage for Lost Prayer of the Sacred Winds on Mona, for sure. There's definitely lots of good reasons why that weapon would likely outperform. Most of the time, crit damage or crit rate weapons will outperform the straight attack weapons. They really will. Attack weapons like Lost Prayer of the Sacred Winds are mostly kind of crutch weapons. Like, they'll increase all damage stats, you know, consistently and regardless of, you know, of whatever your crit rate is currently. So, I mean, there is that, but I think because crit rate and crit damage are stats that are so effective in this game, you definitely want to utilize them as much as you can. So yeah, I would definitely say go for it. What if Diluc is Klee's dad? That's definitely not possible. There's no way. That would be just a weird soap opera-esque twist if something like that happened. I think everybody would be like, what just happened? Everybody's heads would be like, that would be like I only have one thing that I could compare that to that I think is a meaningful enough analogy, which was like the weird like math that we all had to do in our heads watching Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker when we all found out that Rey was a Palpatine, and it was like, wait, what? I don't understand how... What? And so, you know, you had to do like this mental math to figure out how and when and where this could have possibly happened, because that character's been dead for a really long time and she's not that old, and like, yeah, so it was just weird, and it seemed wrong, and we'd end up having to do the same mental gymnastics if something like that were to come up. So yeah, that would be weird, and that's the best analogy I can come up with for that specific situation. Diluc is Klee's father, grumpy adult. Maybe, but I don't think so. Traveler is Klee's dad. Oof. Just search up KFC glider lore and click on the first Reddit post and you'll see it. Alright, hang on. I'm just gonna do it right now because I'm just plain curious now. So is this an actual thing? Is there like a goofy KFC glider or something? Let's see. Well, there's no picture of it or anything. The description is about Klee's mother, Alice, talking about a world where people get together during a Sunday feast, possibly our own planet. She also mentions to Klee about dragon drumsticks and wings. Oh my god. I'm gonna go ahead and guess that this is not coming to our version of the game. At least I hope not. But that would be kind of a weird invasion on our immersion in this game. Not that there aren't other things in the game already that kind of smash that, but I mean, that would be weird. I'm not gonna lie, that would definitely be weird. Lost Prayer mood, we're all crying for the lack of it. Yeah, for sure, Domo. I mean, Widsith is a good weapon, for sure. While I definitely will continue to you know, give preference to the Skyward Atlas over Widsith based on scaling alone in the tests that I've done between those two weapons. I do think that it's still a good weapon if you do not have Skyward Atlas. You know, if you're looking at building a caster character in a free-to-play scenario and you have the Widsith and you don't have, you know, any of the Royal weapons or any of the Black Cliff weapons or Battle Pass weapons, then yeah, that's definitely the way to go. Hang on, I closed my map. Here we go. Okay. Because, you know, you'd think I run this farming route enough that I would just remember where everything is, but I don't yet. I don't know. Like, I still have to consult this map for for my artifact grind locations on a, you know, every other day basis. Fish needs good artifacts at C6 to compare to Albedo at C0. I switched from building Fish to Albedo when I was getting defense % on his artifacts. I will build her after 3 more characters again. Yeah, for sure. Fischl will never compare to Albedo unless you have her, yeah, at C6 and perfect artifacts. And even then, Albedo just makes every character better. And really, if you want to compare those two characters for their off-screen damage potential, you could use them together, which is something I have done. And Oz is capable of triggering Albedo's blossoms. So, like, Albedo's just ridiculous. You will never regret building that character, for sure. Let's see. Oh, over here for the next one. I don't think her canon age is stated in the game, but probably 10 or younger, judging on how she acts or looks. Yeah, I would have to agree. They haven't given us any kind of canon age for Klee. And she's an elf. I don't even know, like, if in this game, like, they age more slowly because they live longer or what. Like, we don't really know. Like, Klee actually could be older than she looks, but is still, you know, carrying the appearance and, you know, mentality of being young due to, you know, a slower aging process as a result of being a semi-immortal being of some kind. So, you know, it could really be anything, but I kind of think that she actually is just young. You know, like you said, under the age of 10 as a result of her general mental state and the fact that she was left with the Knights of Favonius 3 years ago, when, you know, she was described as being young, and she's still, you know, I would assume that the Knights of Favonius would have noticed or had some kind of weirdness about the fact that the character isn't aging or something. If that was a thing, it would have been mentioned by now, probably. Oh no, Dragon Wings, Dvalin Run. What? I think I missed something. It is officially coming to NA&E. Is it really? I don't know how I feel about that. I'm not gonna lie, but whatever. Oh god, I forget about that freaking ice spike every time. Every time I get hit in the face with that thing. Just walking through this cave and that ice spike just smacks me every time. Just, one of these days I'm gonna stop falling for that thing. Oh, hey. Let's go ahead and knock these things out then real quick. Get out of my face. Alright, we're good. Just want the artifacts, leave me alone. I skipped on Albedo at first and do regret it. Oh, big oof, YouTube. Yeah, whenever his rerun comes, most definitely, if you can, jump for him, because he's definitely a worthwhile character. I remember being kind of unsure, you know, with Albedo when he first came out, like, what is this character going to be useful for? How are we going to best make use of it? And then I really sat down and read his skills and realized, like, oh, this character is going to be an incredibly potent support character, especially if you're trying to bolster the damage of your primary DPS. So definitely, you know, a character you definitely want to have on your team if you can. Xiao, Hu Tao, Ganyu, first gen power creeps in Genshin. Nah. I don't really see them as power creep though, because it's not the characters that are more powerful than the pre-existing characters, it's the weapons. It's the weapons that they're releasing with these characters that make them more powerful. So, you know, and if you look back when Zhongli first came out, people didn't really understand that character and they thought he was really weak. And a lot of people were using Vortex Vanquisher on him because that was the weapon that released with him. But that weapon was intended to help him deal additional damage when you've built him as a support character. But if you're building him as a DPS, then you wanted the Primordial Jade Spear, which did not, at that time, have a specific banner, so a lot of people didn't have it. And so there weren't a lot of people building Zhongli as a primary DPS, and the people who did not have access to the right weapon to do it at the best. And then, you know, now that they buffed him, people who do have Primordial Jade Spear are using him as a primary DPS, and he's just broken. And the same can be said for Hu Tao using the Staff of Homa, or Xiao with the same Primordial Jade Spear, or Ganyu with the Amos bow. It's the weapons, not the characters, that are giving us power creep. But the weapons are the good way to produce power creep, because those will need to grow and change. Pocket Alex. Even TH eats the stalactite. Yeah, I do. Like, that thing hits me every time. I don't think I have ever remembered that thing is there. I walk into that hallway each and every time, and it clocks me in the face. And I'm just like, one of these days I'm going to remember that thing is there and not get hit in the face with it. But it hasn't happened yet. At Tevin Astoria, I want Venti, but I'd much rather have Mona. Should I only have enough for one pity? Should I risk it on standard or go for the safer option of Venti? Well, here's the thing. Even on the character limited pity, you're 50-50, right? Like, unless you know for a fact that you're on the guaranteed one for Venti, then you're going to be sitting 50-50 to get any 5-star character that's standard or Venti. So you could still potentially get Mona on the Venti banner if you're not on that guaranteed run. But if the character you really want the most is Mona, you know, the standard banner isn't necessarily a bad way to go. But the other downside is again, if you're not on the guaranteed character one, which is at 180 rolls, then you may also see yourself getting a weapon instead of a character on the standard banner. So that therein lies the risk of rolling on the standard banner. For what it's worth, I did get my Mona on the Venti banner, the original Venti banner, way back when. So, maybe your experience could be the same. Honestly, if your goal is to get characters and the character you want most is one of the standard characters, I would just roll on the limited banner, and it's 50-50. So unless you're on the 180th one, even on the limited banner, you still have a good chance of getting Mona either way. So I would roll on the limited banner. At Tevin Astoria, do you think version 1.3 is boring and kind of disappointing? No. I thought the Lantern Festival was fantastic. I thought Theater Mechanicus was a lot of fun. And the quest line for Xiao was really entertaining. Xiao as a character is really interesting. One of these days I'm going to build him as a proper DPS character and actually let him wreak some havoc, but I haven't had the material or time to put into that. Hu Tao, her story quest was amazing. I really, really enjoyed that. I thought it was the right balance of comedy and heartfelt kind of deepness that we've kind of been looking for in this game. And I've really enjoyed 1.3 thus far.
Decided by destiny.
Madame Ping, oh my god. Damn, I was hoping I would get him before he went underground. Whatever. Come on, don't move. Oh, he's just gonna sit there and let me kill him. Okay, well, that's cool too. Never pass up those Whopper flowers. Never, never, never. Alright, I only got a couple more locations to go to for artifacts, and then I can return to leveling Chi-Chi's goofy artifacts so she's a better healer for my Hu Tao. Joe Carpenter, I don't agree with that argument. Weapons are I don't know who you're talking. I don't know if you're maybe you misunderstood. If that was directed at me, you might have misunderstood what I was saying. I was saying to roll on the limited banner because the weapon banner is, or the standard banner will more than likely give you a high chance at pulling a weapon. And characters will generally, like, character diversity is generally more important than weapon diversity in a lot of cases. Oftentimes, if you pull on the standard banner hoping to get characters, you end up getting weapons for characters you don't even have. So that is usually a problem for people pulling on the standard banner. Same here, TH. Mona was my first 5-star on the Venti banner. Nice. I like it. Whoa, I got my Mona on the first Venti banner too. Nice. I like it. Some people representing Mona on that early banner. It's good stuff. That feeling when Xiao is Xiao. I don't know. If I said it accidentally, rip. I usually try not to do that, but you know, it can be sometimes, especially if I'm on a roll talking really fast, it can be hard for me to auto detect or self-correct if I'm rolling some of those things off the tongue in an unnatural way. Keeping in mind that I do not speak, you know, Chinese, so like using those syllables that way is definitely, I don't want to say uncomfortable for me, but it's definitely not natural for me, and it does take a conscious effort on my part to make sure that I say them correctly, and it is something that I'm working on for sure, because I do want to try to present their names in the most authentic way possible, but sometimes I do just completely and utterly fail at that, like, full disclosure. If Jean was a devotee of Barbados, then was there a change in her image or attitude towards him when she finds out that he's currently a happy-go-lucky bard? I don't think so. I think that she could, well, I mean, she saw through Venti from the get-go with the quest, and Venti even said as much, like, he was like, you know, you saw right through me or something to that effect, or you knew all along. And she didn't say anything, because she knows that, you know, happy-go-lucky bard or not, he does have Mondstadt's best interest in mind, which is why he doesn't usually get involved, right? Like, he wants to keep them free, and he feels like the best way to ensure their freedom is to only get involved when their freedoms are directly challenged. So otherwise, he allows the people to handle their own issues so that, you know, their freedom is maintained in that way. And even Zhongli kind of, you know, went that route, because he wasn't really willing to retire until he knew that there was an entity in Liyue that would be able to kind of handle everything that, you know, is possible of coming up in the city of Liyue in his absence. And when, you know, the Qixing and the Adepti, you know, banded together to defend the city from Asail and the Fatui, he was finally comfortable with walking away and giving away that Gnosis after the test was completed. So, I mean, like, they kind of have a little bit more in common than it would even seem at first glance. They just have very different ways of going about their goal, I guess. Oh, come on, this guy had to jump down off the rock and hit me in the back of the head. Come on now. Gonna make me use, you know what? Fine. It's gonna hurt. Nope, nope, it didn't. Well, good. That hilly churl disintegrated. Where'd the artifact go? It's up here. There it is. In the description, Alice says, Tevat's borders have grown fragile in the past 2 years. Looks like Mommy's going to have to get busy. What do you think that means? So we know that Alice, you know, went, quote, adventuring, or on an adventure far away. I think 3 years ago now, by Klee's main story. So I think it's just, you know, Mondstadt has been trying to remain diplomatic in all things, which is why, you know, they have the envoys from the Fatui who are still welcome in the city, you know, or were welcome in the city, despite the fact that they were kind of poking the bear with regard to what was going on with Dvalin. You know, and they were welcome in the city at least until that point. And the NPCs are still in town now, despite the fact that it's known and documented that they stole the Animo Archon's Gnosis in broad daylight. So, you know, Mondstadt's a city that's trying to defend its borders from, you know, the invasions of other territories, be it hilly churls or other nations. You know, Tevat isn't exactly at peace. And I think that's by the design of the Celestial Overseers. I think that's pretty much all that means. And really, we kind of have to take anything Klee says in general with a grain of salt, because she's a child and she doesn't understand a lot of things. She doesn't even really understand how it is that she got a vision. So I feel like there's a little bit more to Klee's vision story than meets the eye. But we don't really know the full details of it. I'm hoping we will, at some point, learn a little bit more about Klee's vision acquisition. Like, there's a basic breakdown of it, but it doesn't really say much about the actual events that were going on at the time. But generally speaking, considering most people gain their visions under periods of duress, usually, or stress or sadness, or, you know, repeated failure, that kind of thing, it just makes me wonder if Klee got her vision after being, you know, saddened when her parents left her. You know, maybe she just wasn't able to cope with that, and that's when she got her vision. You know, she was trying to maintain that, you know, upbeat child attitude that she always has, or maybe she was, you know, keeping that front on, and that's why she got it, because, you know, she maintained that despite it. So who knows? There's all sorts of different ways. Adoraburst, can I show my Venti build? My Venti build's kind of incomplete, but he's using 4-piece Venerer at the moment, with a focus on attack and crit damage and crit rate. For the longest, I was building him as a Elemental Mastery Utilizer, but the way things kind of have shaped up in the game, honest to goodness, I don't really see that much reason to build most characters in this game with Elemental Mastery. It just doesn't really seem to be a great stat right now, and I think that's kind of the consensus that a lot of people are under. There are some characters that are a little bit more tolerant of that stat in long-term usage, like Sucrose, but even then, like, I think it might still be more compelling to build her as a secondary DPS caster and build her attack and crit damage and crit rate, just like Venti. For the longest time, though, you know, because that was their intent, was to be built Elemental Mastery, I felt like that was probably the way to go, but now I don't really know anymore. Hey, at Tevat Astoria, are you interested, excited for Inazuma cares, like Ayaka, Sayu, Mimi, and the entire story about Raiden? Yes, I am, actually. So Inazuma is one of these, you know, unsurprisingly, you know, what with how obsessed I am with the lore of this game and the world that they've built. Inazuma is really one of the things that I'm most excited for right now. You know, it's really good that we have these new world quests coming out with Dainsleif and stuff. I think that this was a great way to kind of fill the void in between, and I think that these are the events that will, you know, result in that serendipitous occasion that Zhongli mentioned at the end of the 1.1 story that would be required in order for us to make our way to Inazuma to begin with. And I'm hoping that 1.4's resolution will result in that serendipitous event that will help us know that, yes, Inazuma is coming soon, and I hope it is. I really do, because I am really excited to start meeting those characters and exploring a new territory again, because it's been a little while, you know? Like, we got Dragonspine in 1.2, and yeah, it's been several months now since we had any new map territory to explore. So that would be really, really nice if we could start getting into all of that. Alright, well, now that I finished my artifact farming, let's take a minute here to continue enhancing my Chi-Chi's very under-leveled artifacts. I need to continue increasing her attack for now, so I'm going to go ahead and push this one up, because really, what I'm trying to use Chi-Chi mainly for is heals. That's all I'm really concerned with. So healing percent and attack are the things that I'm most focused on with her for the time being, because I'm just trying to get her to a point where I can chip away or increase Hu Tao's HP whenever I need it, so that she's less likely to die. And really what I've kind of been doing lately is just kind of making sure between like every third encounter, I just swap over to Chi-Chi and kind of beat on an enemy a little bit, or pop her elemental burst as necessary to make sure that Chi-Chi's health, or not Chi-Chi's, but Hu Tao's health ends up in a good spot. Actually, I think I should continue to focus on this one for now. So that's what I'm going to do. Pyro is more related to passion, isn't it? Cryo to despair, and I don't know the others. So, yes, that is generally what has been discussed thus far. Each of the elements do have their own, like, respective, like, emotional kind of idea or concept behind them. Pike-kun, how's it going? Welcome. How are you doing today? Tonight? V Westover, I don't think visions are necessarily given for suffering. Xiangling, Klee are standout examples where they do not seem to have suffered. Well, the thing specifically about Klee is it doesn't really say how she got her vision. It just says that she did get it. And so that's one of those things where, like, it's kind of like just like omitted, if I recall correctly. Let me go back. It says she obtained a vision. Like asking Klee how she obtained a vision will probably get you nowhere. She doesn't know either. A natural-born pyromaniac, Klee had already been acknowledged by a vision from a very young age. So we don't know how long ago she got it. According to Klee herself, she had been creating a bomb that was even bigger than super big. This was her very first solo project, but the results were far from expected. Well, she only blew her small workshop sky high, leaving a mountain of smoking ash, but rather than being disappointed, Klee was pleasantly surprised to see a flaming vision emerge from the ashes. So it kind of explains the situation that she got it in, but it didn't really... How did Klee receive this divine acknowledgement? So we don't know much about what her emotional state was at the time this occurred. It just says that she did. Now, to me, I think what we need to know with regard to how Klee got her vision is, had her parents already left or not? If her parents already left, then I think it's safe to assume that some aspect of Klee's ever positive attitude is a direct result of the lack of her parents and her constant need to compensate for that. So, you know, even children are very capable of, you know, bandage emotions like that. You know, like children are especially incapable of properly dealing with emotions in those ways and you know, can manifest them in some, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? Destructive tendencies. And she definitely has those, even though she means well with them in most cases. This is actually a character I've been doing some deep study on lately, if you guys follow me. So take that to mean what you will with regard to upcoming content, maybe. At Tave on Astoria, I know you're responding to chat questions that are probably more important than this one, but please, can you press the G on your letterboard? You'll win free primos. I think you're talking about... oh, these. Actually, yeah, I always forget about these things, honest to goodness, I really do. I don't know why I always forget about those. Just like occasional things that I, you know, miss collecting or whatever. I've gotten most of those in the past, but yeah, sometimes, like, if I get something randomly, I'll forget to go back to it and pick them up. So yeah, you know, cool. Thanks for reminding me of the 3 Primo Gems that were sitting there for me. I never want to turn my nose up at free Primo Gems, for sure. This notification is the one that's driving me crazy right now. I've been looking at this little red dot all day, and it keeps, like, seemingly harassing me into coming over here and claiming all this stuff again each day. But it was overdue anyways. I needed to come and claim it. Is Albedo Klee's adoptive brother? Yes, he is. At David Astoria, what do you think is up with Wangshu Inn? The game seems to suggest Wangshu Inn attracts monsters or something. There's definitely some sort of connection between the Wangshu Inn and, I would say, at least spirits. There were a lot of Seelies in the general area of the Wangshu Inn, but I think one of the things to consider strongly about the placement of Wangshu Inn is that it is on the outskirt of the Guili Plains. And the Guili Plains is the ancient civilization of Liyue. Right, so like this is where like the ancient ancestors of, you know, what is now Liyue Harbor once lived. And during the Archon War, the monsters pretty much raided and destroyed the Guili Plains and killed a lot of the people who lived here. So, I think it can be safely assumed that, the Wangshu Inn being built right on the outskirts of the Guili Plains might be like the Genshin Impact equivalent of building a house on like an Indian burial ground kind of thing, if you're familiar with like that like American legend idea of like somebody building their house on top of a burial ground and they're haunted because of it. Like it could be that kind of scenario here, and that might be why we see like that little ghost girl there, and even Hu Tao mentions there being ghost incidents at Wangshu Inn that she's had to deal with, that kind of thing. The way TH describes children makes me think he has PTSD after babysitting someone a long time ago. No, definitely not. See, I'm more of the person who just avoids interaction with children. I've always been the like, a lot of people talk to children like they're dogs or something. You're like, hey, how you doing? Oh, you're doing so good. You're a cute kid or something like that, and it's like, that's a little person. I feel like I should just be able to have a conversation with them. So I go up to them and I talk to them like they're a person. I'm like, hey, how's it going? And then they say something back to me and I don't understand what it is, and everybody's staring at me waiting for me to respond to something that they fully understood and I didn't. And it's really awkward. And I never know what to do in that situation. And then I'm just waiting for that situation to end so I can leave. And it's the worst. So I mostly just try to avoid it. My brother has a million kids, and I've never really been comfortable even around them. It's just weird. Klee's suffering is attempting to escape solitary confinement every other day. She does have Kaya in league with her for doing that, so that's definitely something that bears note with regard to Klee's existence in general. Alright, so I have a little bit of resin to burn. I do need some more level up materials, so I guess I'll just pop over here and clear this ley line, since I do need some more enhancement stuff. What's the emotion needed for Geovision? I'm wondering now. I feel like kind of like the concept of Geo is really more like dedication, really, when you think about it, because like Leo is based around like contracts and honor and stuff. So it's either like I think maybe it's just honor, like if you give your word to something, then you should live up to it. So yeah, it's probably like honor, if I had to guess. So, and I know that like was it Fontaine, so like Hydro is like judgment or something, like it's like literally, or justice specifically maybe. So like there's definitely a few different ways that one could end up going. I think Pyro, like he said earlier, was passion. Obviously Animo is freedom. I'm not sure necessarily what Electro would be off the top of my head though. I'd have to think about that one for a little bit or look it up. Very interested in the lore with Albedo, despite him coming out a minute ago and you making a bit about him. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely still a lot more to learn about Albedo. We have barely scratched the surface, I think, with regard to what's coming with that character in the future. We're going to definitely see a lot more details about him come up. And I think he's going to be quite important to the general story at some point in time in the game. How do I think Alice was able to travel to Teyvat? I mean, that depends on what you mean. Like, I think that Alice, was born naturally of Teyvat. I think, just because we haven't seen any other elves other than Klee and presumably Alice, doesn't mean that there's not a region of elves somewhere in Teyvat. Because we do have a race of like cat people living in Springvale, and there's, I think, possibly more of them kind of cat people living even in Fontaine. because one of the twins in that in the storylines chapter trailer had some cat-looking people in it, or at least one of the two characters, one of the two twins, Linny or Lene, one of the two of them had cat ears and a tail, I think. I know they at least had the ears, and I don't think it was like hair ears like Keqing has. Zhongling Klee Chongyun, who was supposed to get a fire vision, apparently displayed no evidence of having suffered. Well, we don't really have all the details of, you know, the circumstances of all of these characters' visions. We have some missing points with their acquisitions. But it doesn't necessarily mean that it's just suffering. It could be hardship. Doesn't necessarily need to be suffering, you know, or hardship to the point of suffering. Just dedication to something. So, like, if you really dissect, like, even Sucrose, for instance, the way she got her vision, she didn't really have her friends with her anymore, and really she remained dedicated to this idea of creating that secret world that her and her friends had dreamt about going to since they were children. And all of her friends, you know, they all separated. They didn't even speak anymore. And while she was sad about that, she remained dedicated to the cause of creating that world. And I don't think I would call that suffering. I don't think that she was doing it from the aspect of suffering, but rather she was simply dedicated to the idea that they set out to create when they were children, and she wanted to keep that alive. And it was that, you know, like that dedication despite repeated failure that resulted in her vision. She was rewarded for her like steadfast nature. And I kind of think that might be one of the more, maybe like the better way to describe it, is characters who display a more like a capacity for maintaining, you know, like that mental integrity. Like you don't fall apart when hardship, you know, comes knocking. You know, if Klee got her vision after her parents left, clearly for a child, her parents leaving her is going to impact you in a negative way. Like, they're not, like, kids don't react to that sort of stuff well. They just don't. So if she did get it after, but we don't know, then I think it would be safe to assume that it did play some role in her vision acquisition. But until we know for sure, it's kind of hard to speculate on that for real. But, you know, Mona got hers, you know, and this is a character who basically lives impoverished, and, you know, her vision silently endowed itself within the vision her master gave her while she was traveling. So, you know, Mona basically lives impoverished and won't use her primary skill set to make money. So, you know, that character remains, you know, steadfast under, you know, duress, basically. Like, she's always poor. She struggles even to do simple things like, you know, have enough money to eat, and will, you know, like, for instance, during her own story quest, sat there starving while the Traveler and Paimon ate giant expensive meals until the Traveler and Paimon basically convinced her to eat it because she thought that's what she should do given the situation. You know, so, like, I'm not saying the character is suffering, but she's remaining dedicated to her goals despite, you know, repeated hardship. That doesn't necessarily reflect suffering. So, I mean, if I'm saying the word suffering, that may not be the most descriptive word to use that specific scenario. Ningguang and Keqing kind of got the visions by accident, though. So, yeah, Ningguang brought, she has like a weird ability to like bring visions back to life, like the skeletal remains of a vision, kind of like. She has kind of an interesting situation there with that. But if you read much about Ningguang's background, that's a character who very much fits the scenario of steadfast despite failure, steadfast despite hardship. And Keqing is a character from, you know, a very young age. Like, she lives in a world, like, she, you know, she's basically an atheist in a world where everybody around her worships the gods. She is kind of an outsider. And by virtue of simply receiving a vision, she was introduced to hardship because she didn't want it, and she resented even getting a vision from the moment she got it. She tried to destroy it on several occasions. She tried to throw it away. It kept getting back to her. She didn't want it. Like, if anything, Keqing being given a vision was almost like the gods like mocking her, which is kind of cruel, really. At Table Historia, I saw something saying ego is how you get Electro. Interesting. So that's something I would want to explore a little deeper, right? Because of the characters who are Electro that we have, I wouldn't say Keqing is particularly egotistical. Beidou maybe, but I don't even really know if I would describe her as egotistical. Lisa, I don't, like, she's definitely a little bit superficial, but I don't know about egotistical. And like, the character's supposedly super smart, but definitely holds herself back due to a stricter code of morals of some kind. She witnessed something in Sumeru that changed her. And Razor definitely doesn't strike me as egotistical. I don't know, it's possible that it could be, but the characters that we currently have access to, I don't know that I would describe any of them as inherently egotistical. My thought on the concept that Klee earned her vision in part from missing Alice is that that would lead to many children having visions. Timmy, for example, or that dandelion boy. So, sure, that could result in other children also earning visions, but we just don't know if they don't yet have those visions. There is definitely a growing trend of characters or children in the world of Teyvat who are missing their parents. And we know of at least 2 characters currently in the game whose parents were never there for them and have visions, Klee and Fischl. So it stands to reason that other characters, like Timmy, like the dandelion boy who stands outside of Mondstadt, whose parents are also missing and he's waiting for them, and like the what is his name, the one outside of Dragonspine who's waiting for his father to come back, whose name is eluding me right now. These are children who could end up being vision holders at some point, you know, in the game's story. I want to see if that kid's over here. I don't think he is anymore, though. I think once you finish the quest, he goes away. Oh, nope, there he is right there. Joel. Yeah, I don't know how I possibly forgot that, but yeah, Joel. So, yeah, he is also another example of a character whose parents are missing. So we have a lot of missing parents. And I feel like, again, this could be another one of those weird situations where by design, it seems more to me like the overseers of Teyvat, the celestial overseers, are cruel. And they give visions based on personality traits of characters who will make them powerful tools for them if they need them. But, you know, just how that is manifest, we just don't know yet. How do most of the Pyros have no parents anymore? Like Diluc, Klee, and Hu Tao. Yeah, that's true. Diluc's, I think his mother was on record of having died when they were very young. His father, obviously, well, Diluc killed his father, but, you know, out of mercy, not like some kind of weird murder type situation. Klee's parents left. Hu Tao's parents are dead. Like, yeah, it's all very complicated. Ego seems like the right path, but the wrong word. Yeah, that might be the situation. It could be. I'd like to do a little bit more research on that. And vision concepts are definitely something that I do want to explore a little deeper in a theory in the near future, for sure, because vision questions are something I actually see a lot. And they're definitely something that, like, even I have a lot of unanswered questions regarding, and I would like to do a deeper dive and, you know, research a little bit more about them in the future. So it's definitely something I'm going to work on. And just that, you know, I've always got, you know, other projects that I'm working on, and I never seem to have time to get them all done. How did that not get those birds? Come on now. It's time. It's definitely time. All this talk of Timmy reminded me that it was burb time. Although these burbs are gone, and so is Timmy. So I don't know what happened here just now, but
Healthy body,
somebody must have warned them that I was coming. I'm looking at you, Rev. I'm looking at you. Somehow this was your fault. I don't know how, but you did something.
we may leave at any time.
I'm in coaching, and I definitely whooped the Electro Archon's arse with her, so she can get her payback. And I'll definitely, yeah, that would be hilarious. I feel like coaching will be probably, well, unless you have her built as a physical character and you're just using the Electro by virtue to trigger supercharge or superconduct rather than, yeah. Bennett also doesn't have parents. Yeah, there's another Pyro with no parents. Yeah, there's a ton of Pyro characters who lack parents. Ooh, Amber. Her grandparents, like her grandfather, randomly disappeared. So yeah, Diluc, no parents. Klee, no parents. Hu Tao, no parents. Xinyan, I don't know if we know anything about her parents. That might be just a blank zone. Actually, I still have yet to really full dive into her story details yet. I do need to really like get deeper into that. Amber has, like, her grandfather randomly disappeared. I think her parents are actually dead. And Xiangling, I don't recall the details of her parents off the top of my head right now. So, yeah. I don't know. I'll have to look into that one a little bit more, too. And to throw these at Chi-Chi here really quick.
2, breathe, breathe.
Still working on enhancing this character and kind of trying to wrap up all of Chi-Chi's leveling requirements. Probably the next level ascension will be the last one that I'll get for her. I'll ascend her to 80, but I probably won't level her to 80. I'll probably leave her at 70. Child is dedicated to taking over the world. Well, so long as it suits the Tsaritsa's needs. Which it seems like it does. Rev, what the hell did I do? Watching the stream... I'm watching a stream that's hella delayed. I mean, sometimes my chat falls behind, and then I have to try and catch up with it. But, I mean, streams always have some kind of, you know, delay behind them anyways. I don't know how far behind the stream actually is in comparison to, like, what I'm reading and when you guys type it, though. But I don't add any extra delay to it or anything. At Tevat, I think... cryovisions have a lot to do with loneliness and feelings of not belonging. Interesting. Well, I definitely think that that would be true with regard to Ganyu, for sure. She definitely very strongly reflects the idea of not belonging. Possibly even Chi-Chi as well may have that same type of situation. I haven't really done much in regard to deep diving for Changyan. There's definitely aspects of his story that I don't know. Kaya, yeah, I would have to agree also, has a sense of not belonging, being that he is from Kenria and was basically a spy in the Ragenvinder family. So, yeah. Yeah, I think that that's actually a keen observation. About 8 to 10 seconds. Oh, that's not bad. Always been like a 1 to 2 minute delay. So the 1 to 2 minute delay aspect, Domo, might just be that, like, I'm usually reading higher up on the chat as opposed to lower at the chat, so it's just me taking a while to get to the things that just popped up on the screen. Like right now, Rev just said like maybe 15 seconds. So I don't know how long ago he typed that in, but now I'm reading from the bottom. So we'll see if this is a little bit closer. At Tevat Astoria, do you think they will buff Electro, since it's kind of underwhelming right now? Like, improve the multipliers and dot for Electro charged. Yeah, maybe. I really currently think the only Electro character in the game really, like, that I enjoy playing right now is Keqing, and that's because that character actually can do really good damage, but it's not because of the reactions, it's just because her multipliers on her own are quite good. So that's generally what I mean, and the same is, you know, said of Razor. You know, people don't really use him as a reactions generator. They just use him, you know, because his multipliers are good, and Electro damage as a standalone is pretty decent. I think that, you know, a lot of people kind of are dissuaded from using Electro characters because the reaction damage seems kind of weak, but you know, the reaction damage isn't the only thing to take into consideration. Like I said, the actual multipliers and damage that the skills themselves produce may actually still be, you know, quite good. And that is definitely the case with Keqing. I know that people have had a lot of success in building Razor as even a primary DPS and as a DD. So I think that those are, you know, the Electro characters are probably fine, but I think that they kind of they may have under-tweaked the Electro reactions as an attempt to balance those characters. And so, yeah, we could still see some tweaks to it. We'll see. At David Astoria, let's cut to the chase. Will Raiden contribution be available? Please don't say no. Oh, I think it certainly will be available. I think that like contribution in Inazuma will be probably one of the things that releases with the territory. So we'll more than likely be getting some kind of sweet pair of purple wings, which you'll probably see on pretty much every one of my purple themed characters, because blue and purple are my two favorite colors anyways. And Mona's kind of blue and purple, and like I use orange wings with her because they contrast to her nicely, but I think that a pair of purple wings will be way, way better. So yeah, any of the characters that have, you know, any kind of ability to sport some purple wings are definitely going to get them, and I'm really looking forward to that for sure. Albedo is a pirate, but lives in a good, honest way. That's true. She definitely does. But electric charge deal huge damage, but as a damage over time. And that's also true. There's definitely good potential for electro charge to deal great damage. I'm sorry, I got distracted by Rev saying such blasphemous things in chat. Alright, well, time to ban Rev. Bye, Rev. Everybody say bye. Everybody F in chat for banning Rev. New 5-stars after reruns. Oh yeah, there will definitely be more new 5-star characters. Cesar Rios, for sure, most definitely. Bro, why can't I find the sub icon on my phone? PikeCon, I don't know. I think that there's also a like the join button for memberships also don't come up on phones, but I want to say, like, even if I even Lunacy, your own cousin, that's not okay. Oh, Rev. Oh, Rev. Look what you stepped in. Look what you did. Oh, Rev. Look what you did. That is quite unfortunate. Yeah, I'm able to, so I just pulled up a YouTube video on my phone and I'm able to see the subscription button, as long as my phone's not obviously turned on side. You know, if it's still, you know, straight up and down, the subscription button and the notification bell are in line with the name of the title or the name of the channel, just a couple of lines below the video. Rev, damn, that's a lot of Fs. Oof. I'm not actually banning Rev, but I do appreciate everybody playing along. Even your own cousin. Harsh. I think you guys are going to have some words. How would Ayaka fit into the cryovision theory? For like loneliness? So we don't really know a lot about that character yet. So I'm not really sure off the top of my head. There's some knowns about like the Bakafu and stuff that she's a part of, but we don't necessarily know what her true mental alignment is, like what her actual stance is with regard to what's going on in Inazuma, the Vision Hunt Decree, the fact that they're a closed nation, like all of that is, you know, kind of an interesting situation that they have going on over there. All right, Rev, I see how it is. I suppose you're going to tell me that you like yellow and red or something. Those are pleb colors. Get out of here. Lisa was supposed to be a leader, but chooses not to. Beto, I don't know enough, honestly. Yeah, so Lisa definitely chooses not to. That's definitely a character who, you know, she's sitting on her hands. She stays out of the fight and stays out of the really most academics-based things because she reached a point where the knowledge that she obtained was too much for her. And it changed her in a significant way, and like she was afraid to learn anymore. And so yeah, I really wonder about that, you know, like we have characters like Albedo even kind of, I don't want to say lose respect for her, but maybe he does, because like he's on the record of having, you know, like not really being comfortable with the fact that Lisa, you know, basically is lazy even though she's really smart. Like he doesn't seem to agree with it, but I don't think he understands her set of circumstances either. I think it's probably safe to assume that, you know, being that whatever adventures Rhine-Daughter and Albedo were on, they probably haven't been to Sumeru together. And so Albedo probably hasn't been there and wasn't present with whatever it was that Lisa learned. And whatever it was that she learned, she's probably not super keen on telling everybody about either. So that's definitely one of those best kept secret type situations. And oh man, like Sumeru is one of the regions I'm most looking forward to because of that. I think that Amber and Lisa are both going to come back into the story in a big way in Sumeru, and I think it's going to be really, really, really interesting. Not to mention, I really suspect that we're going to be seeing 5-star variants of those characters at that time. I think that's when we're finally going to start seeing either like built-in upgrades or actual just those characters will have, you know, new versions released of them on, you know, banners. So I kind of feel like banner versions would probably be better than, you know, them just allowing us to upgrade them, because if they allow us to upgrade them, they'll probably hold back the character's potential a little bit, so that, you know, arguably they're not quite as good as the, you know, full banner 5-star characters. But you know, like with many things, time will tell. Ah, come on with the fire here, leave me alone. Red is a cool color. Walking away from explosions are cool. I mean, I've even made, you know, video scenes where characters like Amber and I think even Jean like walked out of an explosion or something. Hey TH, you have C2 Mona? No? Man, that sucks. I mean, I don't. No, that's true. My Mona's still C1. The pain is real. One of these days, that will happen. But I got C3 Jean, C3 Diluc, C2 Zhongli, C2 Ganyu, C2 Keqing, C2 Hu Tao, C3 Albedo, C2 Xiao, C1 Venti. So I mean, I don't think I'm doing too bad. You want to go? I feel like Electro comes to characters who don't live the way people around them expect them to, and keep going. Razor lives with wolves, Fischl has her delusions, Keqing doesn't believe in god worship. That's true. That's definitely a pattern that's, you know, easily recognizable in the people of, you know, Electro visions. They definitely seem to be people that kind of go against the grain, so to speak. So that, yeah, that's actually a really good observation. That's true. All right, so I am going to be wrapping up the stream here in about 10 minutes, guys. So if you had any questions that you've been sitting on, now would be the time. King Adrian, it's my birthday. Finally, I'm a fan of yours. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. And also, happy birthday. Well, I mean, you made me do it. You're gonna flaunt, you know, a C2 Mona in my face, then I'm just gonna, you know, let you know what I bring to the table. Let's you know, if we're doing that. The pain from a flex. I mean, that's mostly largely just, you know, targeted at Rev. Let's be fair. Let's see. I need to go over here. No, I mean, if I were a true, you know, like a tried and true, like an actual whale, like my Mona would be C6 here. Like I would just be like, oh, I'm just gonna drop all this money and like, you know, do like that one crazy streamer did early on where he spent something crazy like $4,000 to get, you know, Diluc. maxed out or something, or maybe it was even more than that. It might have been more than that. There was definitely somebody who did something crazy like that, and I don't remember who it was and maybe what the total was. I remember reading about it, and it was something crazy. So, you know, there's that. Rev, unsubscribe. Alright, let's get this one knocked out real quick, too. Just go ahead and get some extra Guardian farms in here. Come on. Walk through all the mines. Alright, that should be fine. Nope. 3, 2, 1. I didn't get the crit. Oh well, don't need it. I'll just get it from this. And it's gone. Well, whatever. You bullying me. I mean, you do bring it on yourself there, Rev. I'm pretty sure. Megalodons. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely, like, I don't even have a single 5-star C6 character, like, at all. Like, I don't have the kind of fortitude to do that. I just don't. Your lore videos are something to watch. Can't wait for the next video. I appreciate it, Anita. I'm hoping to have the next one done this week sometime. Tectone, probably. I don't think it was Tectone, Jordan. I don't think so. I feel like I would have remembered if it was him. I really don't think it was, though. Was it Tenna or Tectone? I don't know. Maybe it was one of them. I don't know. Like, maybe. I don't know. It's possible. Like, I stay so busy with my own stuff. It's hard for me to keep up with, you know, like any other content creators. It really is, because I'm always so damn busy most of the time. PikeCon, we are getting new Archon quest in 1.4, but not a new area to explore. That's true. Yeah, we're not. Hey, TH, what do you think about the Power Lines stream on the Abyss Herald's hands? It's kind of the same on Dainsliff. Yeah, you know, some people have been pointing that out. And it's, you know, it's possible that the Abyss Heralds and maybe the power that Dainsliff you know, wields are, you know, have the same root. You know, like maybe they obtained it from the same place, that kind of idea. You know, because Dainsliff and Lumine did, you know, have a friendship, obviously, for a time anyways, and it's very possible that he gained some sort of power from the Abyss for their time together. But it's also equally possible that, you know, he had the, you know, realization or the moment of clarity to realize maybe what they were doing maybe not the best way of going about things. Oh, totally used that wrong accidentally. Well, fine, I'll still take my bonus damage. Oh, that Hydro Slime is just gonna sit there and not die. Here, just put that guy in the air here for a second. Oh, why did that miss? Come on now. That was ridiculous. Tenha wailed to the max. Yeah, I guess that's possible that it was him then. I don't really know much about what those people's stats are. Cesar Rios, yeah, I have Venti. I have every character now. For the longest time I didn't have Venti, but then, or not Venti, but Chi-Chi, but I finally got her a couple of weeks ago, so I do have every character now. Do you think the Electro team with Fischl and Beidou is worth it if my main DPS is Mona? If my main DPS Mona is C2, because C2 with only charge attacks on Vaporize is awkward. I generally feel like because Vaporize scales on attack, the resonance that you want is always going to be Pyro Resonance. Because if you have Pyro Resonance and then you take Vaporize as your primary reaction factor, it's going to scale that reaction that much further. So that's really like the way you want to go. So like, yeah, Beidou and Fischl are each potent combinations with Mona because, you know, they turn her into like an electric machine gun, which is really nice. But at the same time, it's it's kind of not necessary. You can kind of go with just one or the other, especially if Fischl's well built. There's almost never a time where Oz isn't on the field, giving you that constant electro charge status along with it. But it's also important to remember that you can only get benefit from that every 2 seconds. So you cannot, it's not as if you can have, you know, Oz on the field and Beidou's elemental burst active at the same time and actually continue to get electro-charged reactions more than every 2 seconds, which is already going to be maxed out by Oz alone, or Beidou's elemental burst alone. So you don't really need both at the same time. So if anything, I would say, you know, have one of the two, and then pick up another Pyro character to double down on your Vaporize. I'm at max battle pass, and I'm in pain because I don't have the other pass. The other pass? Do you mean like the $10 version or whatever? At TH, do you think the gods are cruel due to how Keqing got her vision? Yeah, oh, I definitely think that the Celestial Overseers are cruel. I don't necessarily think that the Archons, the 7, are cruel, although some of them might be. I don't think that, you know, the gift of visions are given by the Archons with malintent, but I think that the intent of the visions by the Celestial Overseers, who, you know, are the ones who likely issued that, you know, the directive to give those visions out in the first place, do have some form of malintent behind those actions. So, yeah. I definitely think that there was a factor of cruelty with regard to giving Keqing a vision. I'm only missing Keqing, Xiao, and Child on my main account. I have Keqing on my free-to-play account, though. Oof, that's how it works, isn't it? Is there a 5-star rate up during 5-star pulls? Wait, what? Most of my 5 stars have come in bundles. Mona and Venti, Klee and Keqing, Diluc and Ganyu, Jean and Hu Tao, etc. Is there a 5-star rate up during 5-star pulls? I mean, yeah, there is rate up during the banners, like the actual limited banners. Compared to the like standard one, I think that the rates are roughly double, I think, or something like that. I think it goes from like 0.06 to 1.6 or something like, or 1.2. At Teyvat Asteria, Lisa, though, she's one of the smartest student that graduated in Sumeru. Dendro's requirement is wisdom and mindfulness. Weird she got Electro. Yeah, I guess when you kind of consider that specific thing, but I mean, she is smart, but I don't know, like, if wisdom and mindfulness are the things that I would use to describe Lisa either. She is really smart, right? Like, and I suspect that whatever, you know, like, her ability to step away from the situation after whatever it is that she witnessed may have been a wise decision. But I don't know, like, I feel like there's other things that define that character. So I don't know, I feel like we still have a lot more to learn about Lisa. That's a character who there's a lot of pieces yet to play. At Teyvat Astoria, all Pyro characters, I think, have a sense of courageousness and or boldness. Yeah, I could see that, for sure. I would say that's definitely present amongst all of them, for sure. Certainly Xinyan, certainly Xiangling, for sure. Diluc and Klee, most definitely. Amber as well, yeah. I think that that definitely describes each of those characters. Zhongli is cruel. He kept spending money and asking someone else to pay. I don't think that comes from a state of cruelness. I think that more comes from a state of cluelessness. He basically is able to, or was able to, for a certain, you know, for an extended duration of time, had the ability to just print money. Always. So, you know, there is that. He has a poor concept of the value of money. There's a god of salt, a god of dust, and a god of contracts, etc. If you were a god of something, what would it be? I don't know. I'd have to think about that for a little bit. And let's say, okay, this will be my last question of the night. I'm gonna have to think about this for a minute. If I were a god of something, what would I be the god of? I don't know. I really don't know. I'd really have to think about that for a while. There's, This would take a lot of inner reflection. I don't even know if I'm really prepared to answer this right now. I could probably sit here and think about this for 10 or 15 minutes, and it may still end up being like a shallow answer. I don't know. I'd really have to think about that one. Like, I suppose, like, this would have to be established within the confines of the world of Genshin Impact, or I don't know if it's established within, like, our own world. Because, you know, there's different, you know, obvious, like, technological limitations within each world. I don't know, I guess it doesn't necessarily have to be material things, where, like, contracts aren't necessarily, like, they have a material aspect, but they are a you know, like, they have, like, an actual physical form, right, but they're actually more of a concept. So I don't know, like, ingenuity or flexibility in regards to, like, resourcefulness, maybe, would be the way to go, I think. Like, a god of, like, resourcefulness or resources or something like that, where, like, you're able to, like, MacGyver your way through everything. That kind of thing, I think, might be, like, a kind of a cool thing to be a god of. Maybe that would be, like, the thing that I would want to have to reflect me. Yeah, I think that would be it, for sure. Anyways, I think that is going to do it for me tonight. I got to get out of here because I do have to work tomorrow, and I got a lot of work to do on my next video before I go to work tomorrow. So, yeah, I do need to get some sleep in before that all gets going. So I'm going to get out of here, but thanks again, everybody, for being here tonight. If you enjoyed the content, please make sure to like the video on your way out and subscribe if you haven't already. If you want to support the channel, I do have active memberships now. There is a link to to both my Discord and to the new channel memberships in the description of this video, so please consider that as well if it's something that you're interested in. I do appreciate it a lot, I really do. It makes my life a lot easier and a lot less painful with regard to continually producing content, and it definitely helps to enable me to have access to some of the resources that I need to keep making some of that content in the long run. So, but if you know, at the lowest level, if you want to subscribe, definitely please do that, because that helps me beat the YouTube algorithm, and really at the end of the day, that is the most important thing for me to achieve. It helps me get more search hits whenever people are looking for Genshin content. So yeah, if you guys enjoy the content, please hit the like, please subscribe, and I will see you guys this Saturday, hopefully with a new video and a stream on Saturday night. See you guys later this week. Have a good night.